Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. This is the 19th episode of the story, where Naruto is raised by Jiraya and Tsunade. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel after watching the video. So, let us begin. It's not fair. Fu whined to no one in particular. The green-haired Jinchuriki was lying on a large branch of the village's great tree, looking at the sky through the small gaps left between the tree's leaves. She let out a loud snort, as if that somehow would relieve her boredom. She went through all the troubles of taking an S-rank mission so she could get a several days permit afterwards, that she was planning to use to travel to Konoha, and get to see her friends again, and most importantly, her boyfriend. It's been 3 months since the last time she saw him, and while she enjoyed reading his letters, it was just not the same. But then Shibuki said, "No, it's too risky letting you leave the village alone. And I can't afford an escort right now. Why don't you make up a reason to justify me sending me there?" Fu had suggested. But Shibuki denied her request, saying along the lines of, "I'm not going to make that mistake again," and that, since no Taki Genin team made it to the finals, there was no reason for any Taki ninja to be in Konoha. Meaning goodbye seeing the Chunin exams, goodbye laughing with her friends, and goodbye making out with Shino. She thought that earning a promotion to Jonin would show Shibuki her strength and thus result in more freedom, but how wrong she was. Despite her rank, she was never allowed to leave the village alone, not even for missions, which she always had to do under the watch of her babysitters, or escorts, as Shibuki called them, despite the fact that she had grown way more powerful than most of the ninjas the village leader assigned as her squad mates. What was the point of being a Jonin then? Sure, the Jonin paycheck was sweet, and allowed her to buy anything she wanted, but that's about it. No matter what she did, it would never stop Shibuki from treating her as a delicate porcelain doll that has to be protected at all time. I might as well ask Shibuki for a mission, she concluded. Free days are rather boring if you have no friends to spend with. Yes, that should do. Preferably, a mission that involved going to the land of fire. Maybe that way, she could take a small detour to Konoha, and pay a brief visit to her friends, and her boyfriend. Little did she knew that her wishes were going to come true, and the price she had to pay for them. Deciding to stop wasting more time, Fu jumped to her feet, spread her wings, and flew towards Shibuki's office. She didn't pay attention to the buildings and people below her, while watching the village from the sky was incredible the first few times, it ended up losing its awe. That's it, until several screams caught her attention. "Huh?" she said, as she unconsciously moved towards the source of the commotion. She narrowed eyes. Is Theta fight? Flying closer, Fu realized that she was right. There were several ninja invaders attacking her comrades, while others escorted the civilians to a safer place. She was unable to see where the invaders came from, since she was too high in the air to properly see their forehead protectors. At least, of those who carried them. Where did those guys came from? She asked. She got her answer when she saw that the enemy ninjas were coming from the lake, where one of the entrances to the village was. But said entrances are top secret, and only Takigakure ninjas know about them, Fu thought, as distress started to manifest within her. She forced herself to stop wondering about how such thing could happen. She could care about that later. Now she needed to put a stop to it. I think I should help them know. Wait, I should tell Shibuki first. Then he can alert the village of the attack. Flying as fast as he could, the green-haired girl zoomed into the center of the village, and in a few seconds, she burst through Shibuka's office's, thankfully, open window. "Whoa!" the young leader of Taki shouted, startled by Fu's sudden entrance. "Fu, what the hell?" "Sorry, but there's no time. We are under attack," an alarmed Fu told him. "Come on, you have to mobilize everybody." Shibuki-sama, a Taki ninja burst into the office, kunai in hand, ready to attack anybody who would dare to harm his leader. What was that noise? Are you Alro? It was Fu. Calm down, Fu. Shibuki told her. What are you saying about being attacked? What does it need to be said? Enemy ninja are entering the village. They found about the secret passageways. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Fu urged, jumping up and down. What Fu said was beyond unlikely. But she looked really distressed and frantic. And, eccentric as she was, she wouldn't lie about something so serious as an invasion for the sake of playing a prank. Shibuki's eyes rested on the ninja who had burst into the office shortly after Fu, who was still in the door. It seems that an enemy force had found one of the secret entrances to the village, and were being invaded. Spread the news and make sure everybody's ready to defend the village. I'll join you shortly, Shibuki calmly ordered. Yes, Shibuki-sama, the ninja obediently replied as he left the room, slamming the door behind him. Fu, how many enemies did you see? Shibuki asked the mint-haired girl. I didn't have time to count them, but they were a bunch. And more were coming from the lake, so there might be even more right now. Fu stated. Okay. Knowing you, I was afraid that you'd rush into battle, but I'm glad you did the right thing, and came here to warn me first. Now, while we fight, find a safe place to dash no. Fu yelled, interrupting his leader. Don't even dare to finish that sentence. Taki is my home, and I want to help to protect it. Shibuki sighed wearily. Fu, we talked about this. You're too important for the village. If what you said is right, things are going to get dangerous, and you may die. I know that. But I'm a ninja, for Kami's sake. A jonin. Hell, I'm sure I'm even stronger than you. What's the point of letting me be one in the first place, if you aren't going to put my abilities to use? The Jinchuriki protested. Shibuki sighed again. He had no time to waste arguing with Fu. And if he made her relent, deep down he knew she'd disobey him anyway and join the fight. Besides, she wasn't entirely wrong when she talked about her strength and skill. Alright, but make sure you stay at my side at all times, understood? I don't want you to go on your own and get killed, Shibuki warned her. The green-haired girl's previous outrage disappeared, replaced by her usual sunny disposition. She flashed him a confident grin as she gave him a thumbs up. You got it, Shibuki. We'll cover each other's backs. Fu happily said. Now, to battle. Shibuki didn't share Fu's almost careless enthusiasm and optimism. For some reason, the young Taki leader had a very bad feeling about this. Kakuzu had disappeared to do some intelligence gathering, as he called it, leaving Haiden in charge of leading the initial assault. Kunai and shuriken flew through the air, some of them hitting thin air, but most of them finding their marks. Invaders and defenders traded elemental ninjutsu while others engaged their opponents in hand-to-hand combat. From what Kakuzu had told him, Takigakure was a very small village, but they managed to stay afloat thanks to the quality of the ninjas they produced, which were almost as skilled as those that came from the great villages, but could be hired at an overall considerably cheaper price. The downside, however, was that due to their low number of ninjas they couldn't take as many missions as other more populated villages. And so far, such thing was proving to be true. Despite the rabble Kakuzu had gathered, plus Haiden's own cultists outnumbering the Taki ninjas, they were having a very hard time pressing their advance. Come on, you weak-ass shitheads. Fight a bit harder. Janshin-sama demands it. Haiden hollered, as he skewered a Takigakure Chunin with his three-bladed scythe. His commands fell into deaf ears, and Kakuzu's fools kept dying. Oh well, it's not that he cared about their fate. Kakuzu himself admitted that these thugs were mostly fodder whose purpose was to wear down Takigakure's defenses. Until Kakuzu returned, he had to make sure the plan went as followed. Haiden rushed forward, and leaped into the air. Several shuriken flew towards him, but he skillfully parried them using his scythe. He landed in the middle of a cluster of enemies, as he started to cut them down. Those cloaks Akatsuki, a Taki ninja pointed out in fear. They must have come for our Jinchuriki, another one cried. Then we won't let them. Come on, attack, all at once, a third one, braver than the first two, stated, as he charged forward. Yes, come and attack me, you fucking heathens. Jashin-sama is thirsty for the blood of the non-believers. Haiden shouted, as he laughed maniacally while skewering more Taki ninja coming at him. Let's step up our game. Brothers, summon the sons of Janshin. Yes, Haiden-sama, the Jashin cultists chorused at once. Haiden's acolytes spread in groups of 3 and 4, focusing on a single Taki ninja each, and isolated them, before ganging on them. But the cultists didn't kill them. They only hurt them enough so they wouldn't be able to defend themselves. However, those poor Taki ninjas would wish they were given a quick death instead, since once they could no longer fight, they were placed on their backs on the ground, and the cultist would use their own blood to draw demonic symbols around them in a circle. And finally, the cultist would weave the same chain of hand signs, completing the process. Demonic summoning, sons of Janshin. Suddenly, the ninjas used for the strange rituals were invaded by a nauseating feeling. As if something appeared inside them, and started to quickly grow. A massive pain got hold of them as whatever was eating their bodies from the inside out grew bigger, until they burst from their chests, killing them almost instantly. The other Taki ninjas watched in horror how creatures that they've never seen before emerged from their deceased comrades' bodies, like a macabre childbirth. The creatures were of many sizes, ranging from as small as a house cat to as big as a tall person. Each of them had a different number of limbs, all of them ending in long, sharp claws. Some of them didn't have eyes, while others had multiple eyes all over their bodies. The only thing they had in common were their inky, dark blue skin, and their huge mouths full of razor-sharp teeth. Behold, heathens, the sons of our mighty lord, Janshin-sama, a cultist screamed. Let them fill your hearts with pain and terror, and rejoice. Without needing to be ordered, the demonic aberrations lunged in disorderly fashion at the Taki ninjas, who tried to protect themselves as good as they could. But between the numerical advantage of the invaders and the damage these abominations were doing, soon they found themselves forced to fall back. Yes. Now you'll see Janshin-sama in all his glow dash, Haiden gloated, before he was being interrupted by a Taki ninja impaling his chest with a large sword. He shot the attacker an annoyed look. Didn't your bitch of a mother teach you that interrupting someone who's speaking is rude as fuck? How? I impaled your heart, the Taki ninja stammered. Because I'm fucking immortal. Haiden yelled, as he pulled the sword out of his chest, and stabbed it into the Taki ninja's gut. This knife's yours, by the way, I don't want it. It seems you're having quite the time here, a deep, monotone voice said. Haiden turned around, and noticed Kakuzu standing beside him. However, your fun has to end. I've located the Jinchuriki. Oh well. As long as I get to use my ritual with something worthy of sacrifice, it will almost make up for the pain in the ass that it's not to kill the Jinchuriki, Haiden replied. I'd suggest the leader of the village, but I need him alive, since the reward for his head is greater that way. However, I'm sure that God of yours will find any of his bodyguards worthy. From what I know, despite being the leader, Shibuki isn't a particularly strong ninja, Kakuzu told him. Haiden's unnerving grin was all the answer he needed. Meaning that I'll take care of both him and the Jinchuriki. You take care of the rest. Whatever. Can we go now? Haiden impatiently asked. With that last warning, both Akatsuki vanished in a blur, like two predators ready to hunt their preys. Meanwhile, not far away from there, Shibuki, Fu, and other Taki ninjas, most of them Shibuki's bodyguards, were fighting with all they had against the mercenaries, thugs, and cultists that were swarming the small village. Water release, water blade jutsu. A sword made of pure water appeared in the young Taki leader's hand, as he engaged a couple missing nin in melee combat, who were easily pushed back. These thugs are nothing but rabble. There must be somebody leading the attack. If we take him down, we'll win half the battle. Yes, Shibuki-sama, his escorts chorused in unison. More enemies incoming, one of the jonin, a middle-aged broad man with a thick mustache warned, pointing to a group of thugs coming towards them. Ninjas, and what the hell is that? Along with the enemy ninjas, there were what appeared to be some kind of near-skeletal, inhuman inky creatures with sharp teeth, claws, and either lots of eyes across their bodies, or no eyes at all. I'll take care of it, Fu happily said as she leaped into the air, while wounding her fist back. Takigakure whirlwind. Fu landed in the middle of the arriving group, her fist slamming into the ground. The force of the impact alone produced a shockwave in every direction, which in turn created a powerful tornado around her, hurling the enemy ninjas and monsters away in every direction. Unlike the human opponents, the inhuman monstrosities recovered rather quickly from Fu's initial assault, and quickly stood back to their feet, and charged at the Jinchuriki, letting out high-pitched, inhuman screeches. Want for more? Suit yourself. A small tornado enveloped Fu's fists. Hurricane punch. Fu punched the first of the sons of Janshin with such force, it was literally vaporized, producing a loud booming noise. The wind chakra, as well as the force of the punch, created quick but powerful bursts of wind that knocked the other demons back. Undeterred by their siblings' death, the rest of the demons charged again, with predictable results. "Whoa, that bitch is strong," a loud voice said. "Indeed she is. So you better get ready, since that's the Jinchuriki," a deeper voice replied. Everybody froze when the newcomers revealed Fu's Jinchuriki status so casually. Suddenly, two men wearing Akatsuki cloaks landed in front of them. Remembering Naruto's words about the organization, Fu instinctively took a few steps backwards, closer to Shibuki and his group. I mean, the Akatsuki with the red scythe narrowed his eyes at Fu. "That's a girl, right? Because damn, she's so fucking jacked, she almost looks like a dude." "Look like a dude? I'll show you dash." Fu snarled as she stomped forward, but she was grabbed by the shoulder by a fellow Taki ninja. "Remember, Haiden, leave the Jinchuriki and Shibuki to me. Do with the others whatever you please," the masked Akatsuki reminded his partner. "Hey, I think I know Yuyuri Kakuzu, our village's most infamous missing nin," Fu said, pointing a finger at him. "Keikakuzu? It can't be!" Shibuki cried, as fear started to creep into his body. If Kakuzu was the leader of this attack, then things would get way harder than Shibuki had expected. "After you failed to assassinate the first Hokage, you murdered the village elders and stole Taki's secret kenjutsu," Fu recalled, sounding oddly excited. "There's only one reason you came back here." Kakuzu chuckled under his mask. "So, it seems today's youth still know about me. I should feel flattered." "That's right, girl, I'm back, and that's because you regret your past crimes and want to ask for the village's forgiveness," Fu finished. A moment of silence followed Fu's optimistic statement. Kakuzu blinked a few times, not knowing how to answer that. "Kakuzu, is she mentally retarded?" Haiden asked. This seemed to snap Kakuzu back to reality. "No, girl, none of that, it's true. This village betrayed me, all what I did next was a fair retribution. And my reason to be here is to capture you and extract the tailed beast sealed inside you." Of course, if Akatsuki lead the attack, they're clearly after Fu, Shibuki thought. But they're smart. They brought a large attack force, so we're forced to divert our ninjas to defend the village, and they have an easier time capturing Fu. It also explains how do they know how to access the village. Kakuzu? Impossible. Somebody that old can't still be a ninja, a Taki ninja with red short hair cried. "He can, thanks to the forbidden jutsu he stole when he left the village," Shibuki explained. "I don't know exactly what it does, but he can harvest the heart of his defeated enemies to both prolong his lifespan, stay in his prime, and acquire their strength." "I see that you're well informed, Shibuki-kun," Kakuzu replied. "Shibuki-sama, you need to take Fu to a safe place." We'll hold the Akatsuki as much as we can, one of the jonin, a woman holding a large sword with blonde hair tied in a short ponytail told Shibuki. I can't ask you to do that. Kakuzu is by far the strongest ninja this village has ever produced. And we don't even know what his partner can do. Shibuki protested. However, his warnings fell on deaf ears as one of his jonin, a man in his 30s with a buzz cut, dashed forward. Go now. I'll create an opening, the man said, tossing a shuriken, and making several hand seals. Shadow Shuriken Clone Jutsu. The lone shuriken turned into several dozens. Haydn, however, smirked, and tossed his scythe forward. Using the thick cable it was attached to, he made it maneuver and spin so it would easily deflect all the shuriken away. Damn, now I have no choice. Shibuki cursed inwardly as he grabbed Fu by the forearm, and started to run, pulling her. Come on Fu, we need to leave. Whoa, wait. Fu protested, as she allowed herself to be dragged by her leader. Aren't we going to fight? They're after you. We need to take you to a safe place. Shibuki told her. You're open right now, the woman with the large sword said, dossing forward. Her sword started to glow with a blue light as chakra was channeled through it, before she made an slashing motion. Flying chakra blades. The released chakra took the shape of crescent-shaped energy blades that flew at the Akatsuki. However, Haydn merely smirked, as he easily jumped above the incoming attack, while pulling the cable down. His scythe came down towards her, however, she was able to parry it with her long sword. Himiko, the Taki ninja with the buzz cut replied. I'm okay, Tadashi. Himiko replied, as she struggled against the scythe. Quickly, attack him now. The red-headed jonin was about to do so, until he noticed something. Hey, where did Kakuzu go? Meanwhile, not far away from there, Shibuki was taking Fu to one of the secret emergency exits the village had for evacuations. The fact that no enemies were coming from that direction meant that the Akatsuki weren't aware about it. They managed to make it out of the village, and were heading the edge of the island lake. Shibuki, we should stay and fight. If we help the others, we can dash, Fu protested. No, it's too risky. Shibuki replied. We cannot allow them to get their hands on you. You're too important. I need to protect you at all costs. Unfortunately, their escape was cut short by Kakuzu violently landing in front of them, opening a crater, and raising a large cloud of dirt and dust when his feet hit the ground. Protect her? Please. From what I know about you two, she's the one who needs to protect you, Kakuzu said in a condescending tone, as he walked towards them. Fu, stay behind me. Shibuki insisted, as he took a step forward. No. Fu protested once again. He's right. You're no rival for him. But if we fight together, we might have a chance. If I'm allowed to give my opinion, you should listen to her, Shibuki-kun, Kakuzu interjected. Not that it will change the result of this fight, but it's indeed the most intelligent way of dealing with me. Suddenly, much to Kakuzu's surprise, Fu vanished behind his very eyes. The Akatsuki barely had time to jump away before Fu's fist came down, hitting the ground, opening a large crater that sent chunks of rock and dirt everywhere. You are ridiculously strong, Kakuzu observed. You have no idea. Fu replied, as she sank her other fist inside the former Taki ninja's gut. However, Kakuzu burst into smoke, leaving a log in his place, which instantly shattered upon receiving the brunt of Fu's attack. Shit! The ground beneath her fist cracked, and Kakuzu burst from below just as fast, hitting Fu's lower jaw with a powerful punch. The mint-haired girl was sent flying backwards in an arc, before landing with a thud. But I'm still stronger, Kakuzu confidently stated. Fu! Shibuki cried, as he dashed towards Kakuzu, his water sword above his head. He brought his sword down upon the unmoving ninja in a vertical slash, but much to his shock, Kakuzu caught his makeshift weapon with just one hand. What? Kakuzu's hand darkened, and squeezed the water sword with greater force, making it burst into dozens of water droplets that splashed both Shibuki and the ground below. You should know that earth beats water. Though with the gap between us, elemental advantages become irrelevant, Kakuzu said, as he delivered a brutal kick to Shibuki's gut, sending him flying a few meters backwards. This was even easier than dash. The masked Akatsuki was interrupted mid-sentence by another equally brutal kick, this time to the side of his head, which also sent him flying a few meters, before painfully landing on the ground. After getting on his feet, Kakuzu saw that it was Fu who had attacked him. You are even stronger than I had initially assessed, Kakuzu admitted. I'm even stronger than that, Fu said, as she rubbed her pained jaw. I find that doubtful. But then again, I do not seek to kill you, and beating an enemy while holding back makes the fight complicated. However, I wouldn't be the best bounty hunter in the elemental nations if I lacked skill, Kakuzu said, as he made several hand seals. Earth release, earth dragon bullets. Mud started to gather in front of Kakuzu, and it took the shape of a dragon head. The dragon opened its jaws, and fired a quick barrage of mud bullets. Fu then deployed her wings, and flew high in the air. The dragon head continued firing mud bullets at her, but her flight gave her more room to dodge than an earthbound target. And she can fly too. This task is becoming more complicated by the moment, Kakuzu groaned. Meanwhile, Shibuki managed to get back on his feet. Despite the brutal kick, he could still fight, even if he was sure he had a broken rib. One hit that's all what he needed to take me out, Shibuki moaned in pain, as his hand reached his ninja tool pouch. He's right. The difference between him and me is too big. Fortunately, I have the means to bridge that gap. In his hand there was a vial with a glowing blue liquid. The boost from this amount of hero water should be enough to deal with Kakuzu, with the backlash not being so big as not to survive it, Shibuki said to himself, as he downed the contents of the vial in one go. The effect were almost instant. He felt all the pain disappearing from his body, being replaced by a powerful wave of energy. He felt his bones strengthening, and his mucus swelling up a little. His chakra became so strong, it manifested from a blue aura all around his body. Yes, with this power, he and Fu would be able to take down Akatsuki. Kakuzu! Shibuki yelled as he dashed towards the Akatsuki. While some might think it was stupid to waste the surprise factor like that, the young leader wanted to draw his attention away from Fu. Oh? You're still alive? Kakuzu nonchalantly deadpanned, as he moved his body a little, so his back pointed to neither Fu nor Shibuki. However, he was forced to focus on Shibuki the moment the young man assaulted him with a flurry of punches and kicks. While unrefined and not that hard to block or dodge, they moved much faster and packed far more power than before. What? How did you become so strong all of a sudden, kid? With the only thing you weren't able to steal before you defected. Shibuki replied, as he delivered a high kick to Kakuzu's head. The Akatsuki blocked the kick with his forearms, but it had enough force to push him sideways. He had barely time to notice a shadow falling over him. Takigakure whirlwind. Kakuzu jumped back before a green-haired meteor could crush him. Like it did before, Fu's punch opened a crater the moment it hit the ground. Now is my chance. Shibuki thought, as he moved backwards, closer to the edge of the lake as his hands flied through hand seals. Water release, water dragon jutsu. A massive, serpentine dragon made of water rose from the lake's surface. It let out a distorted growl, before it lunged at Kakuzu. Fu deployed her wings once again, ANF flew into the air to avoid the attack. Kakuzu replied by making hand seals of his own. Earth release, earth dome jutsu. Dirt and stones gathered around the Akatsuki, quickly forming a dome around him, which was finished just in time the water dragon found its mark, collapsing into a massive torrent that left the entire area wet and full of puddles. The dome, however, was left untouched. Damn, not even with hero water I can overcome the elemental disadvantage, Shibuki cursed. Let's bring you out of your shell, shall we? Fu shouted from above, as she slammed the rock dome with both feet, shattering it into a multitude of pebbles. However, rather than Kakuzu, she only found a hole. Damn it! He escaped underground again. I have an idea. Fu, let's force him out by flooding the tunnel he just dug. Shibuku suggested, as he ran towards the hole. Fu nodded, and the two of them started weaving hand seals as well. Water release, water gun. The two Taki ninjas expelled a stream of water from each of their mouths, quickly flooding the tunnel Kakuzu had dig. If he didn't come out, he'd drown. Suddenly, the earth started to shake. That definitely wasn't the effect the two Taki ninjas were expecting. Suddenly, powerful streams of water burst from underground as if they were geysers, startling them into stopping. What the hell is going on? Fu asked in shock, as she took a step back. The Jinchuriki noticed too late the ground trembling under her feet, and she was hurled into the air by a powerful stream of water. Fu! Shibuki yelled. The mint-haired girl deployed her wings once more, and managed to escape the stream of water. She panted a little, spitting the water that had flooded her respiratory system. And that moment was all what Kakuzu needed to strike. Fu didn't even see the Akatsuki appearing besides her, and found herself at the receiving end of a rather savage punch that sent her flying against the ground. But when she hit the ground, she didn't stop there. The force of the punch kept pushing her towards the edge of the island, leaving a furrow behind. Fu! Are you okay? Shibuki asked, as he rushed towards her. However, he was stopped in his tracks when several kunai with explosive tags attached to them landed in front of him. What? The young Taki leader managed to jump back in time before the tags detonated, producing a chain of loud explosions. When the smoke of the explosions dispelled, there were several missing nin of several villages. Kakuzu-sama, we came here to help, a missing nin from Ames said. Yeah, the situation in the village is pretty much under control, Anoter-one from Kyumo confidently added. What do you want us to do? An IWA missing nin asked. Good job. It seems the money I spend on you was a good investment. Keep that man busy, but make sure he lives. Meanwhile, I'll secure the girl, Kakuzu said in a deadpan tone, as he walked towards the bruised Fu, who was trying to get back on her feet. Stand down, Jinchuriki. You've already lost. That's the best you have? Fu laughed weakly as she got back on her feet. She wiped a trickle of blood that came from her mouth. Girl, you only experienced a fraction of my true power. I recognize that you're strong, but my experience as a ninja far outstrips yours. Don't make this harder than it should be, Kakuzu said, as he continued walking forwards. Fu! You have to flee. Shibuki shouted, as the various hired missing nin engaged him at once. There's no way I'm going to do that. Taki is my home, and I'll defend it. Fu stubbornly shouted back. And you will defend it, but not this way. Don't let Akatsuki get their hands on your power. Go and look for help. Shibuki pleaded, as he felt the effects of the hero water slowly vanishing. I'm not going to abandon you, Shibuki. Fu yelled, as she tried to fight back the tears. You won't, Shibuki replied, as he parried a kunai blow from the aim missing nin. Fu, you're a ninja. You know what you have to do. Fu didn't reply. Her sight shifted back and forth between Shibuki and three approaching Kakuzu. He was right, she did know what to do, even if deep down she didn't want to admit it. She wiped the tears from her eyes, and her face reflected a look of determination, looking as if she was ready to fight. A last stand against me? Brave, but foolish, Kakuzu observed. Fu clapped her hands together. I will fight against you, and I will beat you, she said, as her hands formed a single seal. But it won't be today. Hiding in the scale powder jutsu. Fu released a huge cloud of glittering power that blinded Kakuzu and all the missing nin in the area. Taking advantage of the distraction, Fu turned back, deployed her wings, and flew away. At that moment, the effect of the hero water vanished, and Shibuki fell on his knees, not being able to fight anymore. He was quickly apprehended by two missing nin. Lock Shibuki up in a safe place. The rest of us, come with me. We have to catch that girl, Kakuzu ordered. But, Kakuzu-sama's flying, the Kumo missing nin weakly protested. I can see that, Kakuzu deadpanned in return. But she won't be able to fly forever, especially with those wounds and bruises. Now keep your mouths shut and come with me. I pay you to follow my orders, not to question them. Why yes, Kakuzu-sama, the present missing nin chorused, as they all ran after their employer, ready to hunt the fleeing Jinchuriki. As Fu flew, she didn't look back. She knew that if she did, she'd turn back and try to help Shibuki and the rest of her comrades. She hated everything so much. Feeling so impotent, the Akatsuki bringing her village to its knees so easily, what would happen to Shibuki? She pushed those thoughts out of her mind, and focused on her mission, reach Konoha. Once there, she could ask her friends for help in driving the Akatsuki away. She had to cover a lot of distance, but with her wings and natural speed, it would be no problem. Fu, a voice said in her head. A voice she hadn't heard in quite some time. What are you doing? What do you think I'm doing? I'm going to Konoha and get some help. Fu answered the Seven Tails. You know, you could have used my power. That way, you could have defeated those Akatsuki, the Seven Tails replied. Not falling for that one again. I still remember what happened the last time I tried to do that, Fu bitterly replied. It's the only way. You won't reach Konoha in your current state. Besides, they're chasing you, the Seven Tails pointed out. Unless those guys learn to fly in the next hours, I don't see them catching me, Fu replied. No, but they will wait until you get tired and can't fly anymore. I'm trying to heal you, but I will take some time. There's not enough luck in the world that can take you out of this, the Seven Tails insisted. Why do you care about me so much all of a sudden? The mint-haired girl snapped. Because I know what will happen to me if those Akatsuki get their hands of you. I felt what happened to Isabu and Kokuo. I wasn't sure myself, but Shikaku confirmed it. I don't plan to get sealed back into the demonic statue, the Seven Tails replied, sounding almost scared. Demonic statue? What are you talking about? Fu asked. There's no time to explain. If you're foolish enough not to use my power in such dire situation, guess that I have no option but do the next best thing, the tailed beast cryptically said. And that would be? Fu asked. But she got no answer. Konoha Stadium. Like 2.5 years ago, a good chunk of Konoha's population, as well as many foreigners, were gathered in the village's stadium to watch the finals of the Chunin exams. This time, however, instead of a tournament of one-on-one fights, the Hokage decided to break the mold, and make team fights instead. Most of the teams were from Konoha, but there were a couple from Suna, and another two from Kiri, participating in an exam hosted by Konoha for the first time in more than 2 decades. Currently, the second fight of the tournament, between two Konoha teams, came to an end as the last member of one of the teams fell to the ground, unable to continue fighting. All members of Team Masaru are no longer able to fight, the proctor, Anko Mitarashi, declared. Team Yamato moves to the semi-finals. We did it, guys. Kaida happily said as she high-fived both her brother and Hanabi. I can already feel that Chunin vest around my body, Hanabi gushed. We're doing good so far, but we better not get overconfident, Hagane wisely noted. The best way to ensure a promotion is to win this tournament. Yeah. Besides, Mom will bet a lot of money on us, and if we lose just like Naruto Nizan did during his exams, Kaida shivered upon thinking what her mother's reaction would be. We may have to become missing nins, Hagane solemnly noted. Come on, Tsunade-sama may have a gambling problem, but he wouldn't do anything too bad if we lose after she bets on us, right? Hanabi asked. The Hyuga grew nervous upon seeing the look her teammates were giving her. Right? Those children better win their remaining fights, or they shouldn't even bother to return back home, Tsunade stated, as she gripped her many betting tickets on both hands. Alongside Tsunade was Shizune, with Shiro and Shizuka respectively sitting on their laps. Naruto and Hinata were also with them, watching and enjoying the fights. Many Hyugas were sitting on previous rows. I wouldn't worry about them losing, Tsunade-sama. They were already strong before, and now that Hanabi has a Tensigen, I find doubtful that they will find any team that will give them a challenge. Not even veteran ones, Hinata said in an assuring tone. How can you be so sure? You only started training with it for a couple weeks, right? Shizune asked. Hanabi didn't look that different to me. It might not be obvious to the naked eye, but her new power it's still there. It manifests in a more subtle way. You'll probably notice that her blows pack more power than they did before, Hinata explained. Naruto was idly following the conversation, until he felt something. A pull. Knowing what it was, he let himself be pulled in, and soon he found himself inside the Nine-Tails seal. Do you want something? Naruto asked. Because I'm having a good time watching the Chunin exams with my family. Your entertainment will have to wait, brat. I've received a distress call, the Nine-Tails began. From the Seven Tails. Naruto's bored expression immediately changed into one of shock. Fu. Yes. It was short, but from what the bug told me, Akatsuki is after her. They invaded her village, and is currently on the run. You better hurry. You got lucky you were able to save the Tanuki's host, but you might not be so lucky this time, the fox warned him. Naruto nodded. I will. Thanks a lot for telling me. The Nine-Tails snorted dismissively. Keep your gratitude for somebody who might appreciate it. I only warned you because it's of my interest that the Akatsuki don't capture any more of my siblings. Whatever you say, you furball, Naruto replied with a cheeky smile, before leaving the seal. The moment Naruto returned to the real world, he found his girlfriend staring at him in concern. Naruto-kun? Hinata asked, mildly worried. Are you okay? You look tense. It's the Nine-Tails. He told me Fu is in danger. The Akatsuki are after her. We have to save her. Naruto stated. Hinata emphatically nodded. Okay, let's fetch Haku. By the way, do you know where Fu is? The fox didn't tell me. Somewhere between Taki and Konoha, I think. That's a lot of ground to cover. We'll need a tracking team to find her. Is Kakashi-sensei's team in Konoha? Hinata asked. If they are, they should be in their usual training ground. I'll go fetch them, you get Haku, Naruto replied. He stood up and looked at Tsunade and Shizune. Mom, Shizune-nichan, we need to go. Akatsuki is on the move again, and another Jinchuriki is in danger. I understand. Take care, Tsunade said. Before you go, you should warn your father about it. I will, Naruto said, as he made a shadow clone. Meanwhile, in the Kage box, 3 Kages were watching the fights. The first was Raza, looking a bit bored, since so far none of the Suna genin had fought yet. Just like the other time he was in Konoha, he brought Baki and Maki as his escorts. Sitting in the middle was Jiraya, escorted by Shisui Uchiha and Niji Hyuga. And lastly, to the left of Jiraiya was Mei Terumi, escorted by Chojuro and Amuri. Your children are truly a sight to behold, Hokage Dano, Mei praised. Mei hadn't changed that much since the last time Jiraiya had seen her, when she came to Konoha to hire some ninjas to boost her rebel forces. That's it, unless one ignored the rather large round belly that she now sported. Wonder if mine will be just half as good as those 3 are, Mei said, as she lightly patted her pregnant belly. With you and Zabuza as their parents, I doubt they'll be a weakling, Jiraya said with a light chuckle. Speaking of which, where is Zabuza? I thought you'd bring him with you. I planned to, but I had a better idea, Mei replied, her mouth forming a slyly malicious smirk. You see, Zabuza-kun wants to become Mizukage after me, so I decided it would be a good idea to let him get acquainted with the job while I'm out. Meanwhile, in Kirigakure, Zabuza was trying to make sense of the loads of paperwork that occupied most of Mei's desk. One of Mei's assistants entered the office, carrying another large stacks of paper. Zabuza-sama, here are the mission solicitudes that need to be approved or rejected, the assistant said, as he added the papers to the growing pile. And don't forget that you have a meeting with the ANBU commander regarding the upgrade of equipment. And after that, there's the meeting with the Guild of Merchants regarding the safety of the trade routes. As the assistant droned all the duties that awaited Zabuza, the swordsman stopped what he was doing, and let his head hit the desk. No more paperwork and meetings, no more paperworks and meetings, Zabuza cried, as tears of despair streamed from his eyes. Yes, I'm completely sure Zabuza-kun is adapting perfectly to the job, Mei stated, almost repressing a laugh. By the way, Hokage-dano, given the outstanding abilities your children possess, didn't your clan or your wife's clan pressure you to have more? Jiraiya shook his head. I have no clan, and before we had Hagane and Kaida, Tsunade was the last senju alive. Besides, Tsunade had them at a rather late age, so we decided it was for the best not to have more. And between those two and Naruto, we had our hands full. So lucky, Mei said, letting out a longing sigh. People think that having a bloodline limit is a gift, and in a way it is, but they're unaware of everything that it entails, such as the need to pass it to the next generation. Do you know that the only reason I exist is because my 3 older siblings failed to inherit both my parents' bloodline limits? My oldest brother only has steam release, while my older sister and second older brother only have lava release. Yes. Some research shows that very few human beings have the proper physical condition to handle 2 bloodline limits, Jiraiya replied. And now, they expect me to do the same. You have no idea how much pressure my clansmen put on me to get married as soon as possible. When are you going to marry, Mei-chan? You're already pushing 30, you know, Mei-chan. If you marry too old, you won't be able to have children, Mei-chan. When your older siblings were your age, they already had at least 1 kid, Mei said in a mocking tone, before her face turned red. Well, sorry for not marrying and having children as soon as you wanted, Mom, but I was busy leading a fucking rebellion. Mei yelled, as she slammed both fists on her chair's armrests, earning a few looks from Jiraiya, Raza and their escorts. Mei's face reddened, this time of embarrassment rather than anger. Sorry. I'm usually not this emotional. The pregnancy and all that, Raza scoffed, and rolled his eyes. Jiraiya let out a hearty chuckle. Don't worry. You should have seen Tsunadeheim when she was pregnant. Between that and not being allowed to drink, looking back, I'm amazed our house managed to survive her with such little damage. Dad, a loud voice yelled. Naruto's body flickered into the Kage box, startling all those present not from Konoha. What's the meaning of this? Raza asked, outraged. Your father might be the Hokage, but you can't be here. Sorry, Kazekage-san, but this is important. I need to talk with Dad about the Akatsuki, Naruto quickly replied. Akatsuki? Where? Mei asked. In the land of Waterfall. Thereafter Taki's Jinchuriki, Naruto explained. Naruto, how do you know about this? Jiraiya questioned. The 9 Tails told me. By the way, I'm a clone. My team and I are going to see if the animal squad is here so we can track and rescue Fu before Akatsuki does, Naruto stated. Jiraiya let out a sigh in resignation. If they are not, at least 1 tracking team should be available. I made sure to leave 1 in standby in case something like this happen. Alright then, consider this an official Konoha mission sanctioned by the Hokage. Take care. I'll try to send you reinforcements as soon as I can. The Naruto clone nodded, before dispelling a burst of white smoke. An hour later, forests of the Land of Fire. Fortunately for them, Kakashi's animal squad was on Training Ground 7, doing their morning routine training. Since none of them had any friend or relative taking part in the Chunin exams, they had no interest in seeing them. The moment Naruto explained the situation, they were immediately on board. Kiba, Tamaki, and especially Shino were really close with the Taki Kunoichi, and weren't going to let anything bad happen to her. Using the scent of one of the letters she had sent to Shino over the past years, Kiba and Akamaru managed to track her scent. As expected, they were heading northwest, to Takigakure. Kiba, how long until we reach Fu? Kakashi asked. A few hours. Maybe more. She's too far away. Kiba shouted, as he tried to go faster. Naruto, did you got any more messages from Fu's tailed beast? Tamaki asked. Naruto shook his head. Not even one. I hope we aren't too late. Fu's strong. She will resist until we can lend her a hand, Shino confidently said. Naruto couldn't help but admire Shino's ability to remain calm in such situation, as well as maintaining a positive attitude. The blonde didn't know what he'd do if Hinata was in such situation. In fact, he did remember when Hagane and Kaida were kidnapped by Orochimaru's minions almost 3 years ago, and despair had been eating him from the inside out. Maybe Shino was also feeling that way, except that he was much better than Naruto at hiding it. Aburames were known for being almost impossible to read. Alright, I know Fu is a friend of yours and you're rather tense, but I need you to keep a cool head, Kakashi advised. We've never faced an Akatsuki before, so be careful. Hey, Naruto's squad killed one and drove his partner away. They can't be that tough, Kiba mentioned. Underestimating them wouldn't be wise, Kiba-kun. The two our team fought were rather powerful, and we needed a lot of help to take them down, Hinata recalled. Besides, you guys are a tracking squad. You didn't see as much combat as we did, Naruto added. We'll see that once the fight begins. Kiba heatedly replied. Will you stop you two? Why don't we focus on saving Fu? Tamaki interjected. Tamaki-san is right. Our priority is to help her, not to beat the Akatsuki, Shino continued. Despite he sounded in his usual monotone, his words were coated in some harshness. Neither Naruto nor Kiba said anything. Following Tamaki's advice, they decided that it would be better if they focused on rescuing Fu. But in order to do so, a clash with the Akatsuki would be inevitable. I don't care how many of them are, or what kind of strength they do possess, Naruto decided with determination. I won't let Akatsuki harm another Jinchuriki ever again. Unfortunately for the blonde, he wouldn't be able to keep that promise for long. Well, do you plan on using my power yet? Because frankly, I can't see how the situation can get any worse, the Seven Tails deadpanned. And not even my luck is going to be enough to get you out of this. Shut up already. Fu shouted out loud. Despite not wanting to admit it, the situation was dire. Kakuzu managed to take her down from the sky with a powerful long-range attack involving both fire and wind. Once down, one of the first things the Akatsuki did was to rip her wings out of her back. While they would regrow after a good night of sleep, she was now deprived of her greatest asset for survival. It was then when his goons moved for the kill. She was now in the middle of a thick forest, cornered against a cluster of trees, with no escape route. If she was at her best, she could easily crush them, but so far, she only managed to keep them at bay. She was too weakened to offer proper resistance. She noticed an IWA missing knee making several hand seals. Earth Release, Rock Crusher. A shadow alerted Fu of the 3 giant boulders that suddenly appeared above her, before gravity pulled them down. They're probably expecting me to dodge them, and another one will attack me while I'm vulnerable, Fu thought, as her muscles tensed while she prepared to counterattack. They're in for a surprise then. Even if she could no longer fly, the Taki Kunoichi shot into the sky with a mighty leap, shattering an incoming boulder with a powerful punch, and another one with her other punch. She then spun mid-air, and kicked the last boulder back to the Iwa Nin. Shit, the Iwa missing Nin cursed, as he ran away before being crushed by his own attack. While Fu was busy, a Konoha missing Nin made hand seals on his own in order to capitalize Fu's predicament. Fire release, Phoenix Sage Fire Jutsu. A volley of fireballs flew towards Fu as she fell to the ground. Of course, that didn't mean that the Taki Jinchuriki was helpless in the slightest, as her hands quickly formed several hand seals in return. Water release, Water Wall. Fu expelled a massive amount of water from her mouth, which formed a circular wall around her, successfully absorbing the volley of fireballs flying at her, resulting in a cloud of smoke that blinded both sides from each other. See, good, this steam curtain should give me a few seconds to breathe, Fu thought. I know I'm being repetitive, but you could dash, the Seven Tails piped in. Shut up. I'm not using your power. I know what happens when I do. Sure, I could defeat these guys easily, and even the Akatsuki as well. But then what? I couldn't stop you from going on a rampage. Fu angrily replied. I'm not letting innocents die because of you. At the cost of your own life? How heroic. Too bad you aren't only putting your life on the line, the tailed beast dryly replied. And if you haven't noticed, these guys are merely wearing you down. The Akatsuki is still watching from afar. And once you're weak enough, he'll move and end this fight in one hit. Oh, he's going to need more than just one hit if he wants to dash. Everybody, attack at once. Even if we can't see her, she's still there, one of the missing Nin shouted. I can hear her somewhere inside the cloud, rambling about something. You weren't speaking out loud when you were talking to me, right? The incredulous Seven Tails asked. Right. Fu laughed awkwardly. Perhaps? How did you last this long? It's beyond me. Next time I hear Gyuki complaining about his human, and I'm going to suggest a trade and see how dash. The tailed beast's rambling was interrupted by a volley of fireballs, watery missiles, rocks, kunai, and shuriken appearing from the cloud of steam, flying directly at her. Oh shit! Fu yelled as her hands scrambled to form the correct right seals. Wind release, great breakthrough. Fu blew a massive gust of wind that was able to push back the kunai and shuriken, and even dispelled the water attacks. However, not only it failed to stop the stone projectiles, but it magnified the power of the fireballs coming at her. This is going to hurt, Fu whimpered. You don't say. The Seven Tails sarcastically replied. The rocks and fireballs found their mark, resulting in a massive explosion that hurled Fu into the air, as well as taking down several of the trees behind the Jinchuriki. The mint-haired girl fell back to the ground with a loud thud, as Kakuzu's thugs cheered in victory. Fu, however, managed to summon enough strength to get back on her feet, if barely. Perched on a tree branch, Kakuzu was looking the ongoing fight, carefully analyzing Fu's strengths and weaknesses. His information already stated that the girl was powerful beyond belief, but it wasn't until he saw Fu's extraordinary resistance and toughness that he understood the whole extent of it. It doesn't matter now. After a whole day of flying, then fighting for so many hours, she can barely stand. There's no reason to drag this any longer, Kakuzu decided, as he jumped from the tree branch, and landed on the ground below. Everybody, stand back. I'll deal the final blow. I can't risk you lot accidentally killing her. The others nodded, and followed Kakuzu's instructions, while he dangerously came closer to claim his prize. Fu tried to back away, but she tripped, and fell flat on her butt. So this is it, it's too late to use your power? Fu weakly asked, as feelings of primal fear and desperation crawled on her back. Girl, even I'm amazed at how much luck I can bring, the Seven Tails cryptically answered. What do you dash? Fu was about to ask, before several whistles could be heard. Multiple arrows made of chakra rained upon Kakuzu, which was forced to stop, and take a few steps back. What the Akatsuki wondered aloud, before a loud, sharp whirring noise filled the air. Wind release, cyclone vortex. A massive tornado came from above, catching the Akatsuki off guard, and violently hurling him against a tree, which was instantly snapped in two. Amazingly, the Akatsuki didn't appear too hurt by such a brutal onslaught, and got back on his feet without much difficulty. Several ninja landed around her in a protective formation. It took her a few seconds, but she ended up realizing who they were. "Alright, hunt's over, you jackasses. So scram unless you want to get your butts kicked," Kiba shouted, with Akamaru barking in agreement. "Yeah, if you want to get your dirty hands on her, you'll have to go through us first," Tamaki added, as 3 blades appeared on both of her gauntlets with a snicked sound. The missing nin snarled at the newcomers, as they cautiously stepped back. "You sounded like you were having a good time hurting my girlfriend," Shino coldly said, as he spread his arms. Swarms of beetles emerged from both his sleeves. "Let's see if you're that bold now that the numbers are more even." "Alright, we'll leave hand-to-hand combat to you 3, we'll cover you from behind," Haku said, as he and Hinata tensed their chakra bows, producing another arrow each, which was pointed at Kakuzu. "Guys, you came." Fu squealed, trying to hold back her tears. "Lucky 7 is really worthy of her name. Thank goodness we reached her in time." A few seconds late, and Akatsuki would have claimed another Jinchuriki, Naruto said, sighing in relief. His expression then turned sharp with determination the moment his golden eyes rested on Kakuzu. "So, you want to see if you can finish the job? Please say yes." "Whoa!" Hinata said in shock, almost taking a step back. "Hinata-heim? What's wrong?" Naruto asked his girlfriend. "That Akatsuki, I don't know what's with him, but his chakra system and his organs, they look like nothing I've seen before." Hinata replied in shock and even some horror, unable to tear her sight apart from Kakuzu. "Explain," Kakashi instructed. "His body is a jumbled mess of multiple organs, held together by some sort of wires. I'm seeing several hearts and his chakra network looks like several networks intermingled together. Is he even human?" Hinata wondered aloud. "You have a keen eye, girl," Kakuzu mentioned. "You look like a Hyuga, but that's definitely not a Byakugan. What are those eyes?" "It's a long story. One I'm not keen on sharing with a mortal enemy," Hinata harshly replied, as she fixed a hard stare on the Akatsuki. "First Sasori, and now this man. Where did Akatsuki find these inhuman freaks?" "Kakuzu-sama, what do we do?" a missing nin from Kyumo asked, his fearful tone clearly indicating he wasn't expecting such huge opposition. Kakuzu reviewed his options. Even if he fought with all he had, sacrificed both his hired thugs and even some of his hearts to retrieve the girl, the odds weren't that good. Among this group of Konoha ninjas, he only recognized Kakashi Hatake, somebody skilled enough to give him a hard time, and the Jinchuriki of the 9 tails. Then there was the Hyuga with the weird eyes, which gave the Taki missing nin very bad vibes. The other 4 looked unremarkable, but underestimating them would be a mostly unwise thing to do. He also noticed the blonde's appearance. Their data stated that the fox's Jinchuriki had blue eyes, yet his were golden. And those markings around his eyes, could that be Senjutsu? If that was the case, he was seriously outmatched. Even with Haiden at his side, it would be a battle really hard to win. "You win this round, Jinchuriki," Kakuzu conceded. "But know this, your village is pretty much in our hands now. You have 3 days to come to us peacefully. For each passing day past that limit that you fail to show up, we will kill 10 Takigakure inhabitants, ninja or civilian. For your people's sake, I hope we do meet again soon. Everybody, fall back." The hired missing nin were relieved that their leader had chosen to retreat to fight another day. Almost in unison, they all leaped away, and disappeared among the trees, followed by Kakuzu. Fu, the Chunin of the animal squad shouted, as they rushed to hug her. Guys, you have no idea how happy I am to see you. Fu gushed, as tears fell down her cheeks. You're hurt. Let me heal you, Shino offered, as he placed a hand on one of her visible wounds, which started to glow with a green light. Fu, that Akatsuki said that your village was his. Can you explain what did he mean? Kakashi asked, shedding his usual nonchalant tone for a far more serious one. Fu nodded, and as Shino healed her, she told the Konoha ninja about Takigakir's attack, how those two Akatsuki and their army had pretty much crushed what resistance they had put up, mostly to get their hands on her and extract her tailed beast. She wasn't sure if Shibuki was still alive, but she hoped for the best. Akatsuki is far more powerful than we feared if they were able to take down a ninja village with such ease and celerity, Haku grimly noted. He remembered far too well the massive efforts the Kiri rebellion had to make in order to have a chance at conquering the city. It would be in any other village's case, but in Takigakir, not so much, Shino interjected. Huh? Why do you say that, Shino? Naruto asked. Takigakir is one of the least populated ninja villages, it was Fu who replied. And as such, most of our ninjas are always out doing missions in order to bring money to the village. That means that we don't have that many people protecting the village in case of attack. If that's the case, how is that your village hasn't been invaded before? Haku asked. Because our village is actually hidden. Every way to enter the village is a fiercely guarded secret, Fu mentioned. It's true. Not even I have been considered trustworthy enough to be made privy of such secrets. Whenever I came to the village, I was told to put on a bag on my head as a ninja lead me both inside and outside, Shino explained. Wait, then how do your potential clients can ask for missions, if they can't even enter the village? Kiba asked. We do have several outposts on nearby towns that take mission requests which are then sent to the village for their approval, Fu explained. It may sound bothersome, but Takigakir has a pretty high rate of S-rank missions successfully completed. As Fu finished her brief explanation of how her village worked, Shino had also finished healing her. Okay, I healed most of your injuries, but it would be better if you were checked at a hospital, just in case. Can you stand up? The Aburame heir asked. Yeah, thank you, Fu replied, as she got back on her feet. Then, almost all Konoha ninja minus Shino and Kakashi flinched and gasped. Huh? What's wrong? Just what the hell do they feed you? Naruto screamed. While Naruto's reaction might seem exaggerated, it was far from unwarranted. Everybody remembered Fu as the short, scrawny girl whose massive strength was deceptive. It wasn't the case anymore. Fu had grown. A lot. Now that she was standing up, they could see she pretty much towered above all her Konoha friends, standing a full head taller, and even had a few centimeters on Kakashi. And that was far from her only change. Her previous scrawny build had vanished, replaced by a far more muscular one, and while not as curvaceous as Hinata or even Tamaki, she still retained a feminine figure. Her affinity for extremely revealing white clothes remained the same, though. Wow, now that I get a better look at you guys, you got so short. Fu observed, almost giggling. I thought it was just Shino, but it seems that you Konoha guys need to eat more greens. Sorry to interrupt this moment, but we need to take Fu back to Konoha. You can talk and do some catch-up later, Kakashi interjected. Nobody could deny the truth in those words, as they all nodded, and headed towards Konoha. Takigakir, a few hours later. Haiden took a deep breath, and exhaled, moaning a little. He was in such good mood. He didn't remember when was the last time he witnessed such a blood spilling of this scale, and he was going to savor every second of it, make sure the sight of the corpses everywhere, burning buildings and overall wanton destruction would be burned into his retinas for the rest of his life. Jashin-sama was happy, he could feel it in his heart. He had ample opportunity to use his curse jutsu with powerful ninjas, the kind of sacrifice his god valued the most. In turn, Haiden's strength had multiplied, and would remain at that level in the foreseeable future. The Takigakure defenders had surrendered already. Those who were alive were on their knees with their arms on the back of their heads. Who would have guessed that taking over a village was so easy? Haiden-sama, one of his cultists asked, as he walked towards him. The village is now secured. Those who refuse to surrender have been killed or managed to escape. Good. You did a good service to Jashin-sama, acolyte. You should feel proud, Haiden praised the cultist. Thank you, the acolyte said, making a slight bow. What shall we do with the prisoners? Should we sacrifice them? Tempting, but for the time being, let's keep them alive. I'd like to have some stock for the future, Haiden instructed. Besides, I know for a fact that Kakuzu would get mad as shit if I decided to do something like that without asking him first, and I don't want my good mood to be ruined by one of his fucking dressing downs. Lock them down somewhere safe. As you wish, Haiden-sama, the acolyte replied, as he went to communicate Haiden's instructions to the rest of their forces. At that moment, a group of ninjas entered the village. Everybody was startled for a bit, but relaxed upon realizing that they were part of their own forces, led by the other Akatsuki. Speaking of the devil, he took his sweet time to get his sorry ass back, Haiden said, as he walked towards his partner. Oi, Kakuzu. Kakuzu didn't greet Haiden. The Jashin high priest noticed that Kakuzu looked dour. Well, dourer than usual, since that mask made the Taki missing nin a bit hard to read. The fact that he didn't appear to have the Jinchuriki with him probably had something to do with it. He was holding something in one of his hands. Hey, why the long face? Haiden asked in an irritatingly teasing tone. No Jinchuriki? Did she escape you, Hee hee. Kakuzu narrowed his eyes at Haiden, and clenched his fists. But refrained himself from attacking. Yes, the Jinchuriki escaped, regrettably so. She was somehow able to call for reinforcements from another village, Kakuzu told his partner. He then took a look at the ravaged village. It seems like things have gone well since my absence. They would have gone better if you did your job and caught the fucking girl, Haiden needled him, before deciding to ask about the item Kakuzu was carrying. What the hell is that? Kakuzu showed Haiden what appeared to be a pair or rather large insect wings. I managed to tear her wings apart. Though I admit I don't know if she can regrow them. Hee hee, you did brought something of the Jinchuriki after all. Too bad that shit's worthless, Haiden laughed. Upon seeing Kakuzu's scowl, he decided to change the topic. But yeah, the village is pretty much ours now. I ordered all our prisoners to be locked up. It is okay with you? Yes, you did good, Kakuzu nodded. Even if the Jinchuriki escaped from our grip, we still have this village and a good chunk of its inhabitants under our control. She will return, sooner rather than later. You know she won't return alone, right? Haiden told him. I'm aware of the possibility. In fact, I already met some of the ninjas that she'll probably bring with her in an effort to take the village back, Kakuzu replied. And what are we going to do then? Should we ask help from Akatsuki? Haiden asked. Kakuzu shook his head. No. She will make the mistake of thinking that we care about keeping this village. We'll use that for our advantage. Is the Takigakure leader alive? Nobody touched him since you ordered it. How is more money going to solve anything? Haiden asked, rolling his eyes. I wasn't talking about the bounty. Well, not yet. I noticed that the girl was quite attached to him. Listen, Haiden, this is what we're going to do. Konoha. A few hours later the sun was starting to set when the group of 8 finally arrived at Konoha. Exhaustion started to wash over their bodies, as they finally allowed themselves to relax, knowing that, for the time being, danger had finally passed. I think it's too late to give the Hokage the report of our mission, so we'll give it to him tomorrow, Kakashi decided, before his eye rested on Fu. Now, I think that the first thing to do is to send you to the hospital to check that you're okay, or get you fixed if there's something that's not. I feel fine, Fu happily replied. I really don't need to go. It's better not to take any chances. Come on, I'll walk you there, Shino offered. Fu let out a defeated sigh, and slouched childishly. Okawae, as for you, Naruto, the moment you see Hokage-sama, you should tell him of what had transpired in Taki. We're going to take decisive actions against the threat of the Akatsuki, Kakashi told the blonde. Naruto nodded in return. I was planning to. Thankfully Taki is an ally of Konoha, so this won't be seen as meddling into another village's affair. Technically speaking, that's not the case anymore, Haku interjected. Upon seeing Naruto's confused stare, he elaborated. Just like how Kiri's old alliances were nullified when Mei took over, Taki is now under Akatsuki's control. Their alliance with Konoha is void until the previous regime is reinstated. Even then, I doubt any village will take us attacking a village occupied by Akatsuki as a pretext for war, Naruto replied. If they do, they'd be pledging their support to the organization. A fair point. But there's still much to discuss before we decide what to do, Kakashi replied. We'll talk about this tomorrow. Now try to get some rest all of you. And the silver-haired Jonin body flickered away, leaving a poof of smoke behind. Let's better do what Kakashi-sensei said. After running so fast toward Taki, and then back to Konoha, I'm kind of tired, Kiba mentioned. Akamaru yawned emphatically. Then it's a good thing we didn't have to fight, or else you'd be so exhausted, you wouldn't have been of any help, Tamaki sneered, giggling a little. Even asleep, I sure can be of more help than you at your best, Kiba fired back. Come on Akamaru, let's go home. Tamaki just stuck her tongue at the Inuzuka, before she let put a yawn. I think I'll go home as well. See you later, guys. With Tamaki gone, the assault squad was left alone. You know, sometimes I wonder when those two are going to get together, Hinata commented, letting out a giggle. I know, right? Their constant bickering is starting to get stale, Haku added. Huh? What are you talking about? Naruto asked his teammates. Kiba-kun and Tamaki-san, Hinata replied. Those two? Getting together? Naruto asked in disbelief. But they are constantly arguing. Yeah. But deep down, they do care a lot for each other. They're simply afraid of confronting their mutual feelings, Hinata explained. When they met, their animosity was genuine, but as soon as they got to know each other better, those feelings changed. They're simply too stubborn to admit it. None of the couples I know ever behave that way, Naruto pointed out. Maybe not at the beginning, but some started out that way. They won't argue as much once they move past that childish phase, Haku added as well. Well, I'm so glad that Hinata-hime and I were never that way. Otherwise, it would have sucked, Naruto said. Just like how not all persons are the same, not all couples are the same either. We did start out as friends, but that doesn't necessarily apply to everybody, Hinata told him. Anyway, I think I'm heading home. I have to apologize to Hanabi-chan for leaving in the middle of her fight. I also have to ask her how did it go. Oh damn, the Chunin exams. I totally forgot about that. Naruto sheepishly admitted. I better do the same with Hagane and Kaida. Maybe I should buy them something just in case. Your little siblings seem to demand a lot from you, Haku observed. I'm kind of worried about the time Seiichi-kun grows up. After that, the three members of the assault squad went their separate ways. The next day, just like with their own Chunin exams, the promotion ceremony took place in front of the Hokage's tower. So far, only one team was found worthy of being promoted to Chunin, and to no one's surprise, it was that composed by Hanabi, Hagane and Kaida. The three of them were proudly standing in the podium, holding their diplomas and flak jackets. Despite their youth and relative lack of experience, these girls and boy have proven in front of everybody that they're more than deserving of the Chunin rank. Let's give them the congratulations they deserve. The public loudly cheered and clapped, as the newly minted Chunin smiled and waved at them. Before they finally stepped down and joined the crowd, heading towards their respective families. Hikari, Hinata, and a group of other Hyugas were expecting Hanabi. Look mother, Chunin on my first try, just like Ne-chan. Hanabi proudly announced. In fact, you managed to become Chunin a year younger than I was, Hinata pointed out, smiling. Then again, of the two of us, you're the one with the most talent, Hanabi-chan. Hanabi crossed her arms, and frowned. Yeah, sure. I know you only said that to make me feel better. You don't have to. I'm not a baby, you know. I'm aware of how strong you are, even before the Tensigen. But Hanabi-chan, for mother and I you'll always be our baby, Hinata said, giggling. Hanabi stuck her tongue at her sister, before she went to show her trophies to the rest of the Hyugas gathered there. Hinata, meanwhile, shook her head. Hanabi-chan so blinded by her admiration towards me, that she can't see how much farther than me is she going to go, Hinata said. No matter how much stronger than you Hanabi becomes, she'll never stop kissing the ground you walk. You're an amazing big sister, Hinata, Hikari praised her, making Hinata to blush a little. Well I try, Hinata sheepishly replied. Especially after you passed her half of your 6 paths chakra so she could awaken a Tensigen as well, Hikari recalled. She will never forget such a gesture, no matter what. I felt it was the right thing to do. I meant everything I said when you appointed me as the new clan head, Hinata firmly replied. By the way, how is the training with the Tensigen going? Hikari asked. Slowly, but we're progressing, Hinata replied. We're still having some trouble with the flight though. Flight is a very rare ability, so you won't find many teachers, Hikari pointed out. As far as I know, there's a jutsu used in IWA that allows one to fly by reducing your weight. However, it's a fiercely guarded secret that's only taught from one Tsuchikage to the next. There may be another jutsu that allows one to fly, but I don't know any other. Wait, I do know somebody who can fly. Hinata's lips formed a smile. In fact, we rescued and brought her to the village not long ago. I think she'll be more than happy to lend Hanabi-chan and I a hand. Meanwhile, Hagane and Kaida were showing their diploma and flak jackets to their parents. Jiraiya was now among the crowd, Shizune, Shursui, their kids, and finally Naruto. It's a pity you had to go on that mission, Naruto-Nizan, if you could had seen us, Kaida said. All Chunin exam matches are recorded. I'm sure Naruto will be able to see you once Hokage-sama gives us a tape of it, Shizune pointed out. In fact, why don't I ask Dad about it now? That way, we can see your matches tonight all together, Naruto suggested with a smile, as he looked at Jiraiya. Sure, I'll ask for a copy of the tapes. Being Hokage, there shouldn't be any problem, Jiraiya said with a shrug. That would be great. Kaida agreed, nodding fervently. All right then, it's settled, Naruto replied. Say, Dad, why don't you go to the tower to get the tape, and since we're at it, we discuss the Taki job more thoroughly. Jiraiya nodded. Yes. Now that the Chunin exams are finally over, I can spend more time and resources on working on the Akatsuki threat. Come on, let's go. After bidding Tsunade, Shizune and all the kids see you later, Naruto and Jiraiya headed to the tower, while the rest went back to their respective homes. Hokage's tower. 10 minutes later Naruto thought that Jiraiya would take him to his office, but was surprised to see that they actually headed for the council room. There, 3 people were already waiting, Hiruzen Sarutobi, Raza, and Mei Terumi. Kazekage Dano, Mizukage Dano, sorry for making you stay longer than you intended, but there's an important issue that needs to be addressed, and think it's to your interest, Jiraiya began, sounding ominous. We got recent news that Takigakure has been invaded and taken over by the Akatsuki. Both his fellow Kages and his predecessor Hokage reacted immediately. Shock was more evident in Raza and Mei's faces, while Sarutobi merely frowned. See come again? Mei asked, almost choking. That's unbelievable, Raza added. I know Akatsuki is powerful, but to think that they can topple a ninja village like that, if I remember correctly, Takigakure had a Jinchuriki. The only of the minor villages to have one, Hiruzen recalled. What has been of them? Do Akatsuki have yet another tailed beast? Thankfully no, it was Naruto who replied. Fu, the Jinchuriki, managed to contact me through the link of our tailed beasts, and we could save her before it was too late. She's now in Konoha, under our protection. If Akatsuki knows that, then this village is also a target for them, Mei somberly noted. Konoha's might is much greater than Taki. If they plan to attack our village, they're in for a nasty surprise, Jiraya firmly stated, angry at the notion of Akatsuki daring to do such a thing. I wouldn't be so confident. Akatsuki is growing bolder with each passing day. If they can take down a village, even a minor one, I wouldn't assume they can't do the same with our villages, Raza noted. The difference is that while Suna and Kiri don't have Jinchuriki anymore, Konoha now houses two, Mei added. It's not the same, Naruto interceded. Takigakure has a very low number of ninjas compared to our villages, and thus their defense force is much smaller as well. To compensate, their defenses rely mostly on their secret entrances. If somebody finds out about those entrances, well, getting an invading force into the village wouldn't be that hard. Even then, it would be wise if we reinforce our own defenses, just in case Akatsuki does dare to attack us, Hiruzen noted. Jiraiya nodded in return. Anyway, you can imagine the reason for which I requested your presence here, Jiraiya said. We can't allow a village, no matter how small, to remain under Akatsuki's control. Konoha is coordinating a counterattack with those Taki ninjas who escaped the invasion with their lives, or those who were away on missions while the invasion happened. I'd like for Suna and Kiri to lend us a hand, if possible. A deafening silence fell upon the council room. Raza was the first one to break it with a heavy sigh, before opening his mouth to speak. In another time I would have declined, Raza admitted. My loyalty is to Suna and Suna only, but given what Akatsuki did to us, and that if it wasn't for Konoha, my son would be dead, I think I can't decline such requests. Think that, by helping us weaken Akatsuki, you'll be protecting Suna from their threat, Hiruzen told Raza. Raza, however, let out a snort. Akatsuki already took what they wanted from Suna. I seriously doubt that they'll come after us again. That's an unwise line of thought, Kazekage Dano. After all, what do you think it will be of Suna, as well as pretty much every ninja village, once Akatsuki fulfill their goal and capture all tailed beasts? Hiruzen asked. Raza's face lost all color upon thinking in such scenario. He gulped uneasily. You make a fair point, Sarutobi-san. Suna will help you in your fight against this threat. I'm glad to hear that, Jiraiya said, as he turned his sight on the pregnant Mizukage. How about you, Mizukage? Given how much Konoha has done for Kiri, I have even less reason than the Kazekage to turn down such request, Mei admitted, smiling. Not to mention, Sarutobi-san's words hold a lot of truth. We can't let this issue snowball to a point beyond no return. Though keep in mind that, due the distance between our villages, moving Kiri ninjas all the way to Taki might take us a considerable amount of time. When is the counterattack due? As soon as possible. Probably in less than a week's time. We already have a strategy to draw the Akatsuki out of the village, making the counterattack easier, Jiraiya stated. Mei pondered the Hokage's words. Very well then. Even if I can't promise that my forces will arrive in time, I'll also send help in the form of food, medicine and other supplies for Taki once the Akatsuki have been ousted and they begin rebuilding. Very well, thanks a lot for both your help, Kazekage Dano, Mizukage Dano, Jiraiya said, as both he, Hiruzen and Naruto bowed before them. Alright. In that case, I should better return to Suna and prepare our forces for the operation, Raza stated. And I'll do the same as well, Mei replied. All right. Then we can consider this meeting finished. I presume you'd want to return to your home villages as soon as possible, Jiraya correctly sensed. I'll start planning the counterattack with my counselors immediately. I'll send you a toad messenger once we're ready to strike. The other two Kage nodded, before they stood up and left the room. Training Ground 8 Hinata and Hanabi were standing in front of Fu. The green-haired Jinchuriki's smile was wider than usual. She cleared her throat before she started to speak. Hello, and welcome to Fu's fantastic flight lessons. My name is Fu, but you may call me Fu-sensei, hee, the bubbly girl giggled. It has a nice ring to it, don't you think? Hinata and Hanabi looked at each other awkwardly, before a pair of tensigen rested on Fu again. Okay, what do we do first, Fu-sensei? Let's start with some warm-up exercises. Fu brightly stated, as her two insect-like wings protruded from her back. First, deploy your wings. Once again, the two Hyuga sisters stared at each other awkwardly, until Hanabi raised her hand. Yes, Mini Hinata? Fu asked. My name is Hanabi, the annoyed Hyuga youth corrected. And we don't have wings. Fu reacted as if she had a bucket of cold water splashed at her. Say what? What Hanabi said. We don't have wings, Hinata repeated. Then how can you fly? Fu asked, almost indignant. We don't know, we just can. Hinata unsurely said. Then, to prove her words were true, both Hinata and Hanabi's feet stopped touching the grassy ground, as the two sisters elevated about half a meter above it. Fu opened her eyes very wide as her iris shrunk. She then came closer to the floating sisters, and carefully inspected them. Amazing, Fu said in almost a whisper. You two are clearly floating, she moved to inspect their backs. But you have no visible wings. This is unbelievable. Can you still teach us how to fly? Hanabi asked. Sure. Fu cheerfully said, her previous amazement vanishing as if it was never there to begin with. Though your lack of wings threw me off. I'll have to restart my teaching plan from scratch. Oh well, improvising is always more fun. Hanabi leaned towards Hinata. Nei-chan, do you think that this girl is qualified to teach us? The younger sister asked. She may look a bit loopy, but Fu-sensei is a very strong kunoichi, and a jonin. I'm sure we're in good hands, Hinata reassured Hanabi. Okay, first of all we should, oh my god, a squirrel. Fu yelled, as she started chasing the rodent. Come here, squirrel. I want you to become my pet. She's the only one who knows how to fly, so she'll have to do, Hinata said, letting out a defeated sigh. Takigakure on a safe room protected against potential spies, Kakuzu and Haiden were in front of an astral projection of the Akatsuki leader, and that unnamed woman that was always by his side. So, you managed to take over your former village, but the Jinchuriki escaped, am I right? The leader asked. Kakuzu's silence was all the answer he needed. Disappointing. Oh come on, we took over a fucking village, give us some slack. Haiden protested, throwing his hands in the air. How is this different from what you guys did with Hanzo? Because the world at large thinks that Hanzo is still alive and in charge of Amigakure, and thus nobody suspects that our village is under Akatsuki's control, the woman harshly replied. On the other hand, you embarked on open warfare. Upon seeing what we can do, the other villages will watch out for us. You talk as if that didn't happen already, Kakuzu replied. Everybody knows our involvement in the Kirigakure civil war, as well as the village's previous state. Not to mention the ruckus caused by the abduction of the Kazekage's son. Han's capture was easy to hide due his self-imposed isolation, but we won't be able to do the same with the other Jinchuriki. Besides, I promised that I'd increase Akatsuki's resources, and I brought a whole village. The Jinchuriki is more valuable than any village, Kakuzu, the leader replied, fixing a hard stare on him. Do not let your love for money deviate from what should be your mission. I really hope you have a plan to capture her. I do. I told her that for every day that passes before she surrenders to us, we'll start killing her fellow villagers in small groups, Kakuzu mentioned. Haiden here is more than happy to carry such threat. Haiden nodded fervently. So many sacrifices for Jashin-sama, I can't believe we didn't do this before. I already anticipated that she'll bring reinforcements to Konoha in an attempt to retake the village. When she appears, taking advantage of the chaos of the ensuing battle, Haiden and I will isolate her and capture her, Kakuzu explained. You seem to be really confident in your plan, the woman noted. Aren't you afraid of losing the village while you're capturing the Jinchuriki? The leader asked. You yourself stated that the village comes second to the Jinchuriki. And even if such thing happen, the other villages will think that Akatsuki is weaker than they thought and that there's nothing to be afraid of, prompting them to lower their guard, and making catching future Jinchuriki all the easier, Kakuzu explained. There was a moment of tense silence as the leader pondered Kakuzu's words. He seemed to agree, as his head moved in a nodding gesture. Very well. Given that you two proved to be competent in the past, I'll leave it to you two to fix the mistake you made. I hope to hear from you two soon, the leader ominously said, as he and his female partner's projections disappeared. Kakuzu exited the safe room, followed by Haiden. The two thugs guarding it stood to attention when their boss walked past them, but quickly relaxed and went to do something else once the new leader of Takigakure no longer required their services. After that, the two Akatsuki exited the building they were in, which was Shibuki's old residence. Man, what a dress-down leader Sama gave us, Haiden said, sounding amused, as he shook his head. Are you sure that that bitch is coming back? If I were Konoha, I'd lock the Jinchuriki up somewhere safe, toss the key into a river, and kill everybody who knew about her. Yes, that would be the wisest thing to do. Kakuzu would never imagined he'd indirectly call the religious fanatic wise. But given the way Konoha manages its Jinchuriki, it won't be the case. She'll want to take part in the counterattack. She will argue that her strength and power are needed to beat us, and those Konoha fools, following feelings over reason, will let her. Then, we will capture her and let this wretched village burn to the ground. Leader Sama did make a good point there. Things didn't go according to the plan the last time. Why are you confident they will go now? Haiden asked. The Jinchuriki being able to call for help from Konoha being so far from the village was something I would have never foreseen. This time, however, will be different. Now it's our enemy's turn to move, Kakuzu answered. I had much time to study both Konoha and its current Hokage. I know what they will do. If our goal was to keep this village, then I'd worry. But snatching the Jinchuriki will be easy if you do what I say. We are always doing what you fucking say, Haiden dryly replied, rolling his eyes. Because I'm the one with the most experience. Even if it wasn't the case, I'm also the one with the most common sense, Kakuzu coldly replied, narrowing his eyes at his silver-haired partner. Yeah, whatever. Your plan sounded all nice and shit, but how are we going to isolate the Jinchuriki from the rest of the attack force? Haiden questioned, raising an eyebrow. Because I doubt that they'd be willing to leave her alone. I'm counting on that. That's where the previous leader of this village, Shibuki, comes to play. When I fought the two of them, I noticed they were pretty close. While they don't look to be related, they treated each other as if they were family. Kakuzu stated. How the fuck does he have to do with this? Do you plan to use him as a hostage or something? Haiden asked. Yes. I'm not going to force the Jinchuriki to trade his life for hers, since I know such thing won't work. However, she will more than likely try to free him. But most of the forces will be preoccupied with taking the village back. So we'll take Shibuki away from the battle, to a battleground far away from the village, and we'll make sure no reinforcements can reach her, Kakuzu explained. Even then, if she's as retarded as to take the bait, she won't come alone, Haiden pointed out. No, she won't. But we should be more than able to deal with any rabble she's assigned as an escort, Kakuzu replied. He then handed Haiden something. Take this. Haiden looked at the item puzzled. What the hell is this? Kakuzu explained Haiden what the item in question was. I see. But I don't think I'll need it. As long as Jashin-sama is with me, my enemies will never know victory, Haiden boasted. I don't doubt that. But keep it with you just in case, Kakuzu said in a warning tone. Now, one last thing, the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails, a loud-mouthed brat, will be more than likely one of the Jinchuriki of the Seven Tails escorts. He's a powerful master of senjutsu, but I doubt he'll be able to bypass your immortality. I need you to deal with him, but I need you not to kill him either. Haiden rolled his eyes, and snorted in annoyance. I'm starting to get sick of this no-killing rule. The rule is just for the Jinchuriki. You can go broke for the rest for all that I care, Kakuzu dismissively replied. In that case, I better prepare some worthy sacrifices to appease Jashin-sama beforehand, Haiden decided. Do as you wish. I'm going to prepare the village for the imminent attack, as well as the battlefield where we'll capture at least one Jinchuriki, Kakuzu said, before he and his partner went their own ways. It was early in the morning, and Naruto knew that his father wouldn't have any kind of meeting until at least 2 hours. However, when he arrived at his office, he found through Jiraya's secretary that it wasn't the case, as somebody was already in the office discussing something with the Hokage. But who the hell requests a meeting with the Hokage this soon? Naruto asked, a bit frustrated. You did, the secretary, a middle-aged woman with graying brown hair, replied. And if you're wondering, no, I'm not allowed to disclose such information with anybody. Not even with his son. Naruto huffed, and crossed his arms. And how long until Dad's free again? This is kind of important. Everybody who wants to meet the Hokage thinks they have important matters to discuss, the secretary snarked at Naruto. Fortunately, the blonde didn't have to wait much, and in a few minutes, the door to the office opened, and the last person Naruto was expecting his dad would see this soon in the morning walked out. Ino? Naruto asked, confused. Oh, hello, Naruto. Sorry if you wanted to talk with your dad and I made you wait. He's free now, Ino said with a friendly smile. What are you doing here? Naruto asked. He sounded more curious than demanding. I was giving Hokage-sama the report of my latest mission, Ino replied, as if stating something obvious. At this hour? Naruto asked, scratching his temple. There was something fishy about Ino, but couldn't tell what. Ino merely shrugged. The sooner I do it, the sooner it's out of my hair. Anyway, I should get going, I have plenty of stuff to do today. See you later, Naruto. Ino happily waved him goodbye as she left the office. Naruto shrugged, and entered the Hokage's office, where Jiraiya was sitting by his desk. Oh, hello, Naruto. What can I do for you? Jiraiya asked. I came to ask you something. But first, what was Ino doing here? Naruto asked. She was giving me the report of her latest mission. Nothing you should worry about, Jiraiya added, noticing that Naruto's encounter with Ino left him a bit uneasy. Anyway, what do you want to ask me? Naruto took a seat. It's about Fu. Land of the Waterfalls, undisclosed location. Kakashi was leaping from one tree branch to the other, as he was heading towards his destination. He looked at the sun, at his highest point in the sky, indicating it was high noon. The copy ninja felt satisfied with how fast he had managed to reach the country that hosted one of their former allies. Though with some luck, said alliance should be restored. Okay, Kakashi mumbled, looking around. This is the zone, but I have no idea where I should go. The silver-haired Jonin continued to move forward, expecting to see some patrols or sentries that may direct him to the place he should go. He wondered if he should summon his tracking dogs and have them find the place for him. His thoughts were interrupted when his uncovered eye saw multiple kunai flying at him from higher tree branches. Fast as lightning, Kakashi pulled a kunai of his own, and while jumping backwards, deflected the incoming knives he was unable to dodge. "Ah, I was wondering where you'd guys show up," Kakashi nonchalantly said as he let himself fall to the ground below. Two ninja wearing Takigakure headbands emerged from the canopies, a woman in her 20s with light blue hair tied in a ponytail, and a tall man about 10 years older than her, with undercut black hair, a mustache and a small goatee. The man started to make hand seals. Water release, syrup shot. The man expelled a stream blue jelly-like liquid from his mouth, which immobilized Kakashi and glued him to the ground when it hit his body. "Yakari, now," the man stated. The blue-haired woman nodded as he leaped at Kakashi, doing hand seals before winding her fist back. Fire release, combusting fist. Yakari's fist burst into flames, before punching Kakashi with it, producing a considerable fiery blast. However, when the smoke caused by the explosion dispelled, there was only a charred log behind, much to her shock. "Oh, shit. Where is he?" the Taki Kunoichi asked. "Right here," Kakashi said, not dropping his nonchalant tone, as he appeared behind the mustachioed man, and placed a kunai on his throat. "Phew, you guys know how to treat a guest, don't you? With such a warm welcome, no wonder Hokage-sama sent me to deliver a mere message. Who are you? What do you want?" Yakari angrily asked, as she leaped into a branch close to Kakashi and the male Taki ninja. "My name is Kakashi Hatake. I've been sent here by Jiraya, Hokage of Konoha, in order to inform the Takigakure resistance, which I presume you two are members of, about the incoming attack on your village to drive the Akatsuki out." There was a moment of silence, as if the two ninjas were trying to discern if Kakashi's words were true, or if it was a trick by their enemy. "Taisher?" Yakari asked her partner. Taisher nodded, making sure not to touch Kakashi's kunai. "He's telling the truth." "Oh, a censor type, I see," Kakashi said, as he removed the kunai from Taishi's throat. "Now that everything's been clarified, can you take me to your base camp? Like I said before, I have a message that I have to deliver to whoever is in charge of the resistance. And no, I can't tell you the message to you too. My orders explicitly said the resistance leader, or leaders if there's more than one," Kakashi clarified, before the two sentries had the chance to protest. "Alright, it seems that you're telling the truth. We'll take you there," Taisher said, as he started to look for something inside his ninja tool pouch. "Sorry for attacking you, Kakashi-san," Yakari apologized, as she made a slight head bow. "But you have to understand our situation, with our village lost. Don't worry," Kakashi said, dismissing her apology with a hand wave. "I know what you guys are going through, and I think I wouldn't be too trusting with strangers if I were in your shoes. Before we go, however, you must put this on your head," Taisher said, as he handed Kakashi a black cotton bag. "Nothing personal, but all non-Taki ninjas, even allies from other villages, can't know the location of our base." "Of course. I can't believe I wasn't expecting it," Kakashi said, as he took the bag and placed it on his head. "Guess I won't be able to enjoy the sights this country has to offer while you guys take me there. Pity." Taisher carried the blinded Kakashi piggyback as he and his partner headed towards their base camp. After about 15 minutes, Kakashi was sure they made several detours so he'd have a harder time remembering the way with his other senses. They arrived the base camp, and the silver-haired Jonin was allowed to see again. Kakashi found himself entering campsite. It was exactly as he imagined, several rows of camping tents, some bigger than others, a few piles of crates containing what he guessed would be supplies of both the battle kind, such as kunai and shuriken, and necessary goods like food or medicine, torches scattered around, all of them unlit, given that it was daytime, and Taki ninjas doing a variety of activities, such as menial tasks, talking, sparring, sharpening their weapons, and so on. The copy ninja saw a small group of Taki ninja walking towards him. Leading them was a square-jawed man with spiky black hair. For some reason, he had the feeling he had seen this man somewhere. "Yoro-sama," Yakari began. "This is Kakashi Hatake, from Konoha. He brings news from his village. Very well then. Welcome to our camp. This pretty much what the true Takigakure is now, Yoro told Kakashi, as he spread his arms in an enthusiastic manner. Thankfully, things won't stay like this for much longer. Hokage-sama has ensured the cooperation of both Tsunagakure and Kirigakure. With 3 great villages joining forces, retaking Takigakure will be child's play, Kakashi explained, as he gave Yoro an eye smile. Yoro smiled in return, letting out a sigh of relief. It's really good to hear that. Morale will improve a lot when our comrades hear we're going to have such a huge support. Hokage-sama knows the threat of Akatsuki, especially since his oldest son is a Jinchuriki, Kakashi told him. Oh, speaking of which, what happened with Fu? I heard rumors that she managed to escape to Konoha, but we were unable to confirm them. Is that true? Is she in Konoha? Is she alright? Fu is alright, you have nothing to worry about her. We're taking good care of her, Kakashi said in a reassuring manner. Yoro chuckled. Heh, good luck with that. Fu can be quite the real handful, despite her age and rank. She didn't grow up, she just became bigger. Oh, now I remember, Kakashi said in realization. You were one of the 2 ninjas that came with her during the past Chunin exams held in Konoha, right? Yoro laughed awkwardly. I can't believe you still remember that. I thought that Fu would get all the spotlight, given that Kagon and I faked our defeats during the preliminaries. I usually have very good memory for faces, Kakashi stated. I knew that there was something suspicious about you too, but when I heard that you were Jonin, Shibuki-sama was afraid that sending Fu to another village unprotected would be too risky. That's why he sent us with her, Yoro explained. Wait, doesn't Fu had her own teammates or sensei? Why did you have to go through such charade that the Hokage ended up finding out anyway? Kakashi asked. Well, Fusha doesn't have a squad in the traditional sense of the word, Yoro replied, sounding uneasy. Kakashi raised his only visible eyebrow. Elaborate, please. Fu had some trouble adapting to her squad mates. Between her exuberant and eccentric personality, status as a Jinchuriki, and closeness with our village leader, she always ended up on bad terms with her teammates. She went through 4 different teams before we finally give up and decided to give her personalized tutoring, Yoro explained. I see. It wasn't just one of 2 things, but several elements that gave her a hard time making friends and connecting with others, Kakashi pointed out. Yoro nodded. Which was a pity, since Fu is one of friendliest persons that ever walked this world. We were glad she able to make friends during her short stay in Konoha. If she wasn't a Jinchuriki, I'm sure Shibuki-sama would have let her go there for a visit from time to time. Though it's no coincidence that the people she ended up befriending were the friends and former classmates of Naruto Uzumaki, our village's Jinchuriki. They more than likely were able to see past her status and judge her by the strength of her character. Knowing that she's okay in Konoha will also act as moral booster for our troops. We're the only minor village with a Jinchuriki, and she's like a symbol of pride for all of us, Yoro stated. Soon you'll be proud of her, though not for the beast that hosts inside her body, but by the actions she will take to help liberate the village, Kakashi thought. Training Ground 8, one of the requirements for a proper flight is to create a shield of chakra around your body, but mostly your face, Fu explained. Not only to protect your body from the cold of higher attitudes, but also to stop dirt floating in the air to get into your eyes, as well as not accidentally swallow insects. Unless you like to do that, I'm not one to judge. Albeit Shino-kun isn't going to like if you do such a thing. As Fu's mind drifted into one of her rather usual aimless ramblings, Hinata and Hanabi followed their teacher through the sky. Right now, they were only slowly flying in circles as they learned the basics of proper flight. The Hyuga sisters were rather surprised to learn how many things there were to flying. Fu made it look so easy, but that was only the years of experience showing. The chakra shield was only the tip of the iceberg. They had to learn how to sense wind currents in order to maximize their speed, how to jump from one wind current to the next, choose the proper attitude to fly depending on what speed did you want to go, adapt their stomachs to resist height-induced stomach sickness, and many more things. They would take a lot of time before they could reach Fu's level of expertise. The mint-haired girl interrupted her own ramble when she noticed that Hinata and Hanabi were struggling to keep her pace. She stopped mid-air. Am I going too fast?" she asked them. The sisters stopped in front of her. At the very least, they had mastered how to remain in mid-air stationary. Fu guessed it was their lack of a need for wings that allowed her to master rather quickly something she still had trouble with. "Flying while keeping the shield active is far more complicated than I would have guessed," Hanabi admitted, her older sister nodding in agreement. It's like those chakra control exercises. Fighting somebody on a wall or on water was hard at first, but you get the hang of it with enough practice," Fu nonchalantly explained, as she shrugged. "So, you want to take a rest?" Hinata looked at Hanabi, who looked back at her pleadingly. "Yes, please." "It would be appreciated," Hinata replied. Fu's mouth formed a cheery smile. "All right then." And with that, the three kunoichi landed on the ground. Fu's wings disappeared into her body. Hinata and Hanabi started to pant, as if they just made some brutal training exercise with Mato Gai. My, look at how exhausted you look," Fu said, sounding so bright it was borderline obnoxious. "I'm not that strict of a teacher, am I?" "No, but T-sis, well it's way harder than it looks," Hanabi replied between pants. Then, she smiled. "But it's really cool." "I know, right?" Fu replied, just as excited. "Those landwalkers will never know the amazing feeling of seeing the world from so high above. That's why, when I met Shino for the first time, I had to share such an experience with him. Occasional screaming aside, I think he enjoyed it. Hey, Nei-chan, maybe you should take Naruto to a flying date," Hanabi happily suggested. "Now, that's something I wouldn't mind trying," Hinata said, as her lips formed a smile while her mind imagined the possibilities. "Though I don't think I'm strong enough to carry Naruto-kun into the air for long. Oh, don't worry, I have the best solution. Just follow the same training Shibuki gave me, and soon your arms will be as thick as mine," Fu proudly boasted as she flexed her rather impressive biceps. "That's tempting, but I think I'm going to pass," Hinata replied, trying to sound as polite as possible. "For the time being, let's stick to the flight, okay?" Fu shrugged. "Your loss." "Hey," a new voice called. The three girls turned towards the direction of the newcomer, and saw a smiling Naruto walking towards them. "Naruto-kun," Hinata said, as she ran at him with renewed forces. She wrapped her arms around his neck and greeted him with a kiss on his lips. "Hello, Haim," Naruto happily replied. "So, how's the training going?" "Slow, but we're progressing," Hinata replied. "Did you come here to see us train?" "Yes, but that's not the only thing," Naruto said. He then looked at the mint-haired girl. "There's something I want to talk with Fu about." Fu perked up upon hearing her name. "Oh, and what that would be?" "I was wondering, are you able to tap into your tailed beast's power?" Naruto asked. Fu's smile instantly vanished, replaced by shock, then by another smile, except this time, it was far more subdued. She averted her gaze, looking at her feet. "Wow, you don't pull any punches, do you?" Hee, she laughed weakly. "To answer that, no. I don't know how to use the power of my beast." "Did somebody in the village teach you how? Or have you ever practiced on your own?" Naruto asked. "Naruto-kun, stop," Hinata gently requested. "Don't you see that you're making her uncomfortable? Such topic clearly troubles her." Naruto sighed. "I know, Haim. But this is important," the blonde stated, before his eyes turned back at Fu, who rubbed her arm as she continued averting eye contact. "The answer to those questions are no either," Fu replied. "After, Well, you do remember what happened in my fight against Gaara almost 3 years ago, right? Naruto nodded. It's something hard to forget. Did that experience make you fearful of the tailed beast's power? Fu nodded. I lost control. The tailed beast took over. And if the pale redhead didn't knock me out, who knows what would have happened. I brought great shame to both Shibuki and my village with such display. Both Naruto and Hinata were taken aback, even if they managed to hide their reaction. Hearing Fu, somebody so carefree who gave the impression that she didn't have a care in the world about whatever other people think of her, admitting feeling ashamed, then that past event had to affect her way deeper than what she let others believe at that time. From that day onwards, I swore that I'd never let that incident repeat again. And that means no more using Lucky Seven's chakra, other than the wings, Fu said in determination, as she raised her sight and looked at Naruto directly in the eye. I see. And is there anything I can do to change your mind in that front? Naruto asked, as she tried to give Fu a reassuring smile. Fu raised an eyebrow. Why do you want me to do that? Think about it. Akatsuki are after us, and we're going to need every resource at our disposal to fight them. Using our beast's chakra can give us the edge against the enemy in battle, Naruto told her. Fu looked unconvinced. What kind of control do you have over the fox? Naruto chuckled awkwardly. Not much. I can use his chakra to some degree, usually to 1 or 2 tails, if I push it. And even then I tend to have a hard time keeping in control. The mint-haired girl crossed her arms over her chest. So you have the same problems as me. And you expect me to learn to use the power of Lucky 7 when you can't do the same with the fox? In my case, I have something else that serves as a replacement, Sage Mode. Sage Mode? Never heard of that, Fu replied. It's not an art many people are able to master. Long story short, you can draw nature's ambient energy and mix it with your own chakra. As a result, your body gets a massive boost in strength and endurance, and ninjutsu becomes far more powerful, Naruto explained. The requirement to learn Sage Mode is that you need to have a rather large chakra pool in order to properly mix nature energy with your chakra. The larger your reserves, the easier you'll master Sage Mode. When Naruto and Jiraiya went to Mount Myaboku to learn Sage Mode, or in the white-haired man's case, to perfect it, Naruto took a little more than a week to master it, and about half of that time was spent trying to understand how nature energy worked. Naruto even figured out a way to work around the 9 tails, making merging with Fukasaku or Shima impossible by using shadow clones. Naturally, Jiraiya was half amazed, half indignant, and wholly shocked, to see Naruto mastering Sage Mode in such a short amount of time while he struggled. It was later revealed that the reason Naruto had such an easy time with nature energy was his colossal chakra reserves. It was like dissolving a spoonful of sugar in water. You'd have a hard time dissolving it on a few drops of water, but no problem with a large bucket. That's why large chakra reserves were a must to master senjutsu. So with that information, Jiraiya trained as much as he could in order to expand his chakra reserves until he got an acceptable level of control. Now, he only needed to merge with Fukasaku alone in order to activate Sage Mode, and could also use clones to gather nature energy like Naruto did. That sounds like fun. Why don't you teach me Sage Mode instead? I have pretty huge chakra reserves. Fu excitedly suggested. I want to learn that too. Hanabi piped in. My chakra reserves got a boost after I awakened the Tensigen. And I'd love to teach it to you, but it's not that easy, Naruto replied, making the 2 girls to pout a little. In order to be able to draw nature energy, you first need to get a taste out of it. How did you do it then? Fu inquired. The toads of Mount Myaboku have some special oil that, when applied to the skin, makes your body draw nature energy on its own. Fu opened her mouth, but Naruto interrupted her. And before you ask, no, you can't use that oil. The oil evaporates in a few seconds if it's taken out of Mount Myaboku. I don't know why. Maybe we could go to Mount Myaboku then? Hanabi asked, almost pleasing. Naruto shook his head again. Only toad summoners can go there. And before you ask to become one, I find that unlikely. Summon tribes almost never accept more than 2 summoners at once. Both Fu and Hanabi slumped in defeat, letting out depressed sighs. With so many obstacles, there's little wonder as for why there are so few sages out there, Hinata commented. Besides, Naruto said, looking at Hanabi. Why do you want to be a sage so much? You already have the Tenseigan. From what I heard, it's a power beyond our wildest imagination. Duh, so I can have both, Hanabi replied, as if stating something obvious. I'll do whatever it takes to be a kick-ass kunoichi like Nei-chan, she proudly stated, before throwing 2 quick punches into the air. I think you should focus on learning how to use the Tenseigan, Naruto said good-naturedly. Then, he looked at Fu. And you should try to learn to control your tailed beast's chakra. To some degree at least. Fu let out a sigh. Okay, you win. You're no fun, you know that? Oh, I'm plenty of fun. Naruto replied, with a wide grin. So, who's going to train me to do it? You? Fu asked. No, me, a new male voice said, as Jiraya landed behind Naruto, and started to make poses. The Toad Sage of Mount Myaboku. The author of the successful Ika Ika series. Konoha's powerful and handsome 5th Hokage. The legendary Sannin, Jiraya. Hokage-sama? Hinata asked. Were you hidden near here all the time until you got a cue to come out? Hanabi asked in disbelief. So what if I did? There's nothing wrong with being a little theatrical. Jiraiya protested. You're going to train me? Nice. Fu chirped. Jiraiya's brow furrowed. Nice? A living legend like yours truly is going to train you, and that's all what you have to say. That savory nice? Fu asked, looking as if she trying really hard to think something else. Is that better? With all due respect Hokage-sama, I know it might not be my place to ask, but aren't you supposed to be working right now? Hinata asked, trying to sound as deferential as possible. And I am. I'm a shadow clone reinforced with Fuinjutsu for increased durability, Jiraiya explained. Anyway, let's get to the training already. You too, Naruto. It's been a while since we last trained you on the Nine Tails chakra. Training ground 3. After Hinata and Hanabi went home, Jiraiya took Naruto and Fu to another training field so he could start their specialized training. Okay, we'll invade Takigakure in a few days, so we'll only have time to teach you some basic stuff, Jiraiya's clone began. First of all, tell me what do you know about your tailed beast? Fu raised an eyebrow, looking a bit lost. Not much, honestly. Is it important? It is, it was Naruto who answered. The more you know about your tailed beast, the better you'll be able to use its power. Sometimes you'll need to ask for power. Others, you'll be able to take it by force. I mostly need to ask the Nine Tails for his chakra, but sometimes I'm able to do it without his permission. If you can do it without his permission, what stops you from doing it at all times? Fu asked. Because when I do that, I usually do it unwittingly. If I'm overwhelmed by an intense emotion, like anger, I'm able to draw the Nine Tails chakra. But I'm at risk of losing myself to the rage when doing it, Naruto explained. Fu's eyes saddened. Like what happened to me when I drank the hero water. Indeed. The water allowed you to tap into your beast's chakra freely, but it also allowed it to influence you to a greater degree, Jiraiya interjected. In my experience, when it's the beast the one who allows you to use their chakra, it's when there's the least risk in using it, Naruto added. Because you're in a calmer state of mind? Fu guessed. Exactly, Naruto told her. Fu smiled and clapped childishly upon guessing it right. That's why the first step is to try to create a bond with your tailed beast so they'll be willing to lend you their chakra. Fu started to grow uneasy, as she started to rub her arm. "Do you think that's a good idea?" "Don't worry, I'm here if things go out of control. I have a set of sealing tags able to suppress tailed beast chakra," Jiraya assured her. "Well, we can try but," Fu began, leaving the sentence unfinished. "But?" Naruto asked. "But after the Chunin exams, I kinda rebuffed all of Lucky Seven's attempts to talk with me. I don't think she'll be very eager to let it go." Naruto was going to point out that it was thanks to her tailed beast that she was able to call for help and evade Akatsuki. But then again, it could also be the beast saving her own skin. After all, he used a similar trick with the 9 tails in order to get his chakra. "Okay, now, let's try to make contact with your tailed beast. Given that we have 2 Jinchuriki, I'll like to try something that I have been thinking. First of all, sit in front of each other with your legs crossed," Jiraiya instructed. Naruto and Fu did so. "Okay, now hold your hands." This time, the 2 teens weren't as obedient. Both of them started to feel a bit uneasy. Jiraiya just rolled his eyes and groaned. "Come on, I know you two have a significant other, but I'm only asking you to hold hands, not to kiss," an exasperated Jiraiya snapped. Naruto and Fu quickly obeyed the Hokage. "Okay, now close your eyes, and try to synchronize your chakra with each other. As you do, think in your tailed beast, and let your chakra drag you to them." Jiraiya's voice started to sound more and more distant, as if the Sannin was slowly walking away. Naruto was already aware of what was going on, but it was something new to the green-haired girl. "Hokage-sama? What do we do now?" Fu asked, but got no response. "Hokage-sama? He's no longer with us. At least not in this place." "Open your eyes," Naruto instructed. Fu did so, and gasped. She was no longer on the grassy training field, but some sort of was unable to find the word that properly described the place. It was some kind of large chamber made of a nondescript light brown material. Several torches on the walls provided some dim light to the place. "Where are we?" Fu asked. "Since you're a Jinchuriki, a pocket dimension exists within you where your tailed beast is sealed. I presume this is such place," Naruto explained. But much to the blonde's confusion, Fu shook her head. "No, I already talked to Lucky Seven before, and this place looks nowhere like where she's sealed," Fu replied. "Maybe this is your seal?" "It's both, and it's neither," a new voice said, a voice that was foreign to Fu but familiar to Naruto. "9 tails?" the Konoha ninja asked. Wordlessly, Naruto and Fu started to walk towards the place the voice came from. Much to their surprise, when they reached one of the chamber's end, they saw 2 gigantic cell gates. The 9 tails was in the one to the left, while the 7 tails was in the rightmost one. "Whoa! What the dash? Since you synchronized your chakra, the dimensions where we're sealed have been temporarily merged," the 7 tails explained. "Not that it's too big of a change for us, as you can see," the fox dryly said as he flicked one of the heavy bars with one of his fingers. "Hey, at least we now have each other to make us company," the giant beetle chimed in. "I take that back. It's change for the worse," the 9 tails grumbled. "Aw, don't be like that, brother," the 7 tails whined. "You must feel all lonely on that cage." "I certainly do. I am. But then I think that it could be sealed with you or the rest of our dim-witted siblings," the 9 tails fired back. "Enough you two!" Naruto shouted. "We didn't come here to see you squabble." The 9 tails scoffed. "I couldn't care less about what you two came to do here." "I do." "What did you come here?" the giant beetle asked excitedly. "Wow, this beast is almost as overexcitable as Fu. You'd think they would get along just fine," Naruto wondered. "We came here to try to fix things up between you two. I know that the fox is a lost cause, but from what I see of you, there might still be hope." "There is," the 7 tails happily chirped. Fu crossed her arms and looked away. It was obvious that the memory of the Chunin exams was still in her mind despite being almost 3 years ago. I'm willing to help her, but she doesn't want to. Not even when that Akatsuki guy almost got us. You already proved to me you can't be trusted. If that pale redhead wasn't as strong as he was, we could have killed him. Fu protested. Oh come on, the boy had Shikaku with him, there's no way we could have made any permanent damage, the giant beetle feebly protested. Besides, it was the first moment in a long time that I had some semblance of freedom, so I got a bit carried away. Fu, however, continued to give her tailed beast the cold shoulder. You should at least listen to her, she's willing to cooperate with you, Naruto advised Fu. The Nine Tails only threatens to kill me and everyone I love at every opportunity. Yes, and you better remember those words, you puny human, the Nine Tails growled, but Naruto ignored him. See, he told Fu, as he rolled his eyes. Fu still looked unconvinced, but decided to listen to her fellow Jinchuriki. I guess I could give her another chance since these Akatsuki guys are a rather big threat and I'm going to need more power, Fu weakly conceded. See? That's the spirit. The next time we face that guy, use my power and tables will turn, the Seven Tails happily claimed. I still have the feeling that you only want to have a chance to escape your seal, Fu grumbled. Can you blame me? The Seven Tails replied. But don't worry, I have my priorities straight. It's not that I could keep a low profile in my true form, but anyway. If you don't trust me, just try using a little of my power. Enough to make a difference, but still not enough to let me influence you. Deal? Fu remained silent, but visibly conflicted. After she silently pondered her options, she reluctantly nodded in agreement. All right. But the moment you step out of your bounds. Fu threatened, as she pointed an accusatory index finger at the caged beast. I get it, girl. You won't have to worry, promise, the Seven Tails said, raising all 6 arms defensively. Okay then, let's get started. Wait, you want to give me your power right now? The green-haired girl asked. Why not? That way you can get a taste after such long time. Plus even I was tricking you and was biding my time to escape, hypothetically speaking, of course. You have that Jiraya guy that can suppress my chakra, the Seven Tails explained. Fu sighed. Okay then. Yay. You're so going to enjoy this, the giant beetle cheerfully said, as a wave of reddish-orange chakra emerged from her cage and enveloped Fu. Both Naruto and Fu opened their eyes, and found themselves when they were before they were transported to that odd mental dimension, still sitting and holding both hands. The only difference is the reddish-orange aura that surrounded Fu's body. Given the results, I take it went well? Jiraiya asked, snapping the 2 teens back into the real world. They both stood up as Naruto nodded. Yeah, the Seven Tails is far more reasonable than the stupid fox. I heard that. I know, I don't care. Well, Fu, how do you feel? Jiraiya asked. Before answering, the green-haired girl took a few seconds to contemplate her glowing hand, as if it was a new part of her body. It feels oddly nice. It doesn't feel like that time in the Chunin exams, Fu explained. There are many reasons for that. For once, you're using much less tailed beast chakra. You also aren't under the effect of the hero water either, Jiraiya explained. Say, how about a spar against Naruto to test your new power? Fu enthusiastically nodded. Yes. Naruto smirked. Okay then, bring it on. Hyuga State. Next day, much to the Hyuga sisters' disappointment, Fu wouldn't be able to train them in the art of flying, since the green-haired girl herself was undergoing some training of her own with the Hokage and Naruto on how to control her Jinchuriki powers. Not that they didn't have anything to do, since their training to control the Tenseigan had just barely begun. They simply enjoyed flight practice much more. Right now, the 2 sisters were in the state's ample backyard, practicing their telekinetic/gravity-based powers. Nobody really knew what those powers were, by stacking concrete blocks on top of each other, forming a tower. The point of this exercise was to test the limits of their power by lifting and manipulating large, heavy objects. Another similar exercise was to use lots of tiny bits of wood, which helped them refine their control by handling multiple small objects. Watching over their training was Takuya, the high priest of the acolytes. Despite not having a Tenseigan, not even a Byakugan, the man proved himself to be a competent teacher. I've read the scrolls and books detailing the powers of the Tenseigan many times during my life. If I had one, I'm confident that I'd be able to master its powers with reasonable aptitude, the old man had replied when Hanabi pointed such thing out. Can I read those scrolls too? I'd prefer to choose what I get to train on, Hanabi said, as she lazily placed a block on the top of the tower, which briefly threatened to fall. Hanabi-sama, training can't be done in the order we wish. I know these exercises must be tedious, but the Tenseigan is no ordinary ability, and great skill honed through practice is needed in order to fully master it, Takuya patiently explained. There has to be a better way to learn this, Hanabi said as she stomped towards the small pile of books and scrolls that were resting on a bench, which Takuya was using for their training. The young, impatient Hyuga skimmed over the texts, until she found something worth her interest. Aha! This sounds pretty exciting. Why don't you teach us how to do this? Takuya walked towards Hanabi, picked up the scroll the young girl was holding, and read it. A disapproving expression appeared on his face. The truth-seeking ball? I think this is far too advanced for somebody who had just begun her training, Takuya said, shaking his head. Can I see what this truth-seeking ball is? Hinata asked, walking towards her teacher. Takuya nodded and wordlessly handed the Hyuga leader the scroll. Truth-seeking ball, also called truth-seeker orbs, this jutsu is the ultimate elemental combination, as they're composed of all 5 basic elements, as well as yin and yang. Across history, very few individuals manage to acquire this power, as it is not something a normal human being can attain, regardless of their strength, skill or determination. While she found such description fascinating, there was something about it that made little sense. Wait a minute, Hinata said, as she stopped reading. In order to combine 2 elements, one need to have affinity to said elements, and I know it's neither the case with Hanabi nor me. We had our elemental affinities tested. I'm just lightning, and she's just fire. This seemed to amuse Takuya. But you tested your affinities before awakening the Tenseigan, right? Yes, but awakening it didn't change our affinities, Hinata replied. Seeing Takuya's expression, her confidence in her words faltered. Right? Why do you have to take my word for it? I'm sure you can see it for yourselves if I'm right or not, Takuya told them. Hinata wordlessly left the backyard. She returned a couple minutes later with 2 pieces of chakra litmus paper, and handed one to Hanabi. Okay, let's see, Hinata said, as she and Hanabi channeled their chakra into the paper. Whoa! Much to the sisters' shock, the paper quickly crumbled while turning wet, was sliced into multiple bits that turned almost immediately into dust, which ignited into small explosions as if it were gunpowder. What? Hinata dumbly stammered. So, do you believe me now, Hinata-sama? Takuya asked, savoring the moment of validation. Hinata silently nodded. This is so cool. Hanabi loudly cheered, as she threw both fists into the air. All 5 elements. Just wait until I tell Kaida. She's going to be so jealous. While Hanabi continued cheering and planning all the cool things she'll do with all 5 elements at her disposal, Hinata continued to read the scroll. Once again, she stopped reading when she reached something that left her a bit puzzled. Before any attempt to produce truth-seeking balls can be made, the user must have a certain level of mastery over the Tenseigan chakra cloak. Tenseigan chakra cloak? What is that? Hinata asked. The Tenseigan chakra cloak is a state that brings to the surface the power of the Tenseigan. You need to awaken it in order to have access to most of its abilities, Takuya explained. Wait, but we are already using Tenseigan abilities without that mode. Hanabi pointed out. Your kinetic abilities are nothing but a scratch in the surface. Or did you think moving objects from afar with your chakra was all the eyes of the Sage of the Moon had to offer? Takuya asked. Then why aren't we learning how to use this mode, instead of working with concrete blocks? Hanabi asked, her exasperation growing with each second. We're doing exactly that. Takuya replied, who was also becoming a bit heated. Six Paths chakra is hard to control, and these exercises will help you in that regard. Takuya-san, maybe my little sister expressed it in a rash and impatient form, but I agree with her in this regard. Our chakra control is already good enough, Hinata softly said, trying to sound reasonable. I was wondering if you could speed up our training. We're going to face powerful enemies in the near future, and we can't take a lot of time trying to master this new power. Takuya crossed his arms over his chest, and pondered the Hyuga's words. When she put it that way, her request sounded more reasonable than Hanabi's lack of patience with a repetitive exercise. Very well then. I'll introduce you to the Tensigan chakra mode, and I'll see for myself if you're ready to learn it or not, Takuya conceded. Way to go, Nei-chan. I wish I had your way with words, Hanabi said, earnestly happy. Hinata giggled at her in return. Training Ground 7 the next day, Fu had asked the animal squad to go train with her, or at the very least, see her train, so she could show them the fruits of just one day of training with Naruto and Jiraya. Given that the animal squad was temporarily lacking a sensei and didn't have any kind of schedule for today, they decided to tag along and spend some quality time with their seldom-seen friend. But what they saw wiped out completely whatever intention they were of training with Fu. I knew that she'd gotten stronger over the years, but this, a dazed Kiba said. This is too much. The three Chunin of the animal squad stared at the orange blurring forms of Naruto and Fu trading blows, moving so fast they were nearly impossible to track. Naruto was using his Sage mode, while Fu was using the most basic stage of the Tailed Beast Chakra Cloak. Even then, it gave her enough of a power-up to push Naruto to fight seriously. Though, given that it was a normal spar, to help Fu get accustomed to the Seven Tails Chakra, they decided to limit themselves to taijutsu only. No ninjutsu, or even kunai or shuriken. Naruto didn't use clones, and Fu's wings were hidden beneath her skin. Every time the two Jinchuriki traded blows, it would be accompanied by a loud thunderclap and a shockwave that raised some rather strong winds. And given that they traded several blows per second, for the onlookers it was like being in the center of a powerful storm. Watching them going like that, doesn't make you feel inadequate? Tamaki uneasily asked her teammates, maybe, but they're Jinchuriki, and Naruto is a sage on top of that. They're on a completely different level we normal humans are unable to reach, Kiba said in mild resignation, shrugging. I'm sure that Kakashi-sensei would be able to fight either of them, and he's neither a Jinchuriki nor a sage, Shino pointed out. You guys just love to oppose me no matter what, right? An annoyed Kiba asked. No. But if seeing them makes you feel inadequate, then maybe we should train harder. Even if we can't reach their level, at least we'll have the satisfaction to know that we're doing our best, Shino explained. We might never be able to reach Fu and Naruto-san's level, but we can at least aspire to surpass Kakashi-sensei. Nobody contested Shino's statement, and continued watching Naruto and Fu's bout in silence. They swore they could hear some giggles and laughs among the constant thunderclaps, as if the blonde and the mint-haired girl were having the time of their lives beating the tar out of each other. They spent like that for a few more minutes until the two of them put some distance from each other, in order to take some breath. While the two Jinchuriki were visibly panting, and their visible skin, a lot in Fu's case, had several bruises, the two of them looked ecstatic. We can't stop if you feel I'm going too hard on you, Naruto taunted. Fu smirked in return. Asking to stop and making it look as if it's because of me. Give some credit, will ya? So, how are you doing? Feel any different? Naruto asked. Fu looked at her hand, flexed her fingers before curling them into a fist, and threw a punch forward. I've never felt better. I can move so fast it's almost as if I weigh nothing, yet at the same time I can hit really hard while my fists barely feel the impact. Fu cheered. It's nice to see that you're getting the hang of tailed beast chakra, but try not to revel on it too much. Remember that the tailed beast will use it to trick you into letting her take over you, Naruto warned her. Yeah, I know. But don't worry, I'm not feeling any different, Fu reassured him. If the tailed beast chakra influenced you, would you notice it? Did you notice it when you lost control during your fights against Gaara? Shino promptly asked. The green-haired girl opened her mouth to reply, but no words came from it. She tried to tell him that yes, she knew when something was wrong, but the truth was that it wasn't the case. Well no, Fu was forced to admit. But if I started to lose myself, I would notice that there's something wrong, right? Sometimes yes, others not so much, Naruto replied. There were a couple moments in which the Nine Tails chakra completely overwhelmed me, and I thought that everything was okay. Tailed beast chakra is at its most dangerous when you're overwhelmed by an intense emotion. So the key to control it is to remain calm? Fu asked. It's a possibility. If you keep your head cool, the tailed beast won't be able to influence you. Naruto then looked at the animal squad. Hey guys, why don't you fight against Fu now? Fight against Fu while using tailed beast chakra? Kiba incredulously asked. No thanks, I choose to live. Come on, guys, it will be fun. Fu insisted. Then you and I have very different concepts of fun, Kiba snarked. Listen, Fu won't go all out against you like she did with me. She'll have to remain calm while keeping the tailed beast chakra active. Such mental effort will stop her from fighting at her best, Naruto explained. Plus it's 3 versus 1. And I'll go easy on you guys, promise. Fu happily added. The three Chunin looked at each other unsurely. Well, Kiba and Tamaki looked unsure. Well, she said that she'll go easy on us. Plus we do this to help a friend in need, Tamaki said, though she clearly wasn't happy with the idea. And I know what you're going to say, Kiba said, looking at Shino. So yeah, let's go with it. It might be good training for us as well. As the animal squad Chunin walked towards Fu, Naruto cancelled his sage mode and left them some space, taking their role of spectator. The four ninja adopted fighting stances, and the handicap spar began. Though it wasn't exactly clear who was the handicap for, given the difference in power between both sides. As expected, the fight was nowhere near as fast-paced and brutal as when Naruto was fighting her. While Fu was clearly in control of the fight, she wasn't overwhelming the three Chunin, and fought with less wild fighting style. She kept her eyes on her opponents, dodged their attacks with quick movements, and then she would deliver a single, precise strikes. Not that this strategy worked all the time, not even close, especially against opponents that, unlike her, weren't holding back. Kiba and Tamaki managed to land quite a few hits on her, and on more than one occasion the Jinchuriki found herself unable to avoid her boyfriend's long-range jutsu. Dang, this is much harder than I thought. Fu complained, as she briefly struggled against Tamaki, before disengaging her and jumping backwards, narrowly avoiding a claw swipe from both Kiba and Akamaru. You're used to rely on strength and reaction instead of thought and action, Shino stated. Such things will only take you so far. Eventually, one must learn to think before they act. And against superior opponents, the time to think will be severely limited. I've always been a going-with-the-flow kind of person, Fu shrugged, as she resumed the fight. Keep going like that, Fu. You're doing great. Naruto praised, as she gave her a thumbs up. So far, the green-haired Kunoichi was doing fine with the most basic level of tailed beast chakra while remaining in control of her emotion. But Naruto wondered if that would be enough to face the Akatsuki. Training ground 12. While Naruto helped Fu train with the animal squad, Hinata was doing the same with her little sister. The Hyuga clan head, and Hanabi-sensei, Yamato, were watching the young Hyuga fighting against both Senju siblings. Fire release, burning palm. Hanabi's palms were coated in fire, as she dashed towards her female teammate, who jumped backwards while making several hand seals. Earth release, earth-style wall. Kaida slammed both hands into the ground, erecting a wall with the Senju crest carved on it between herself and Hanabi. Hanabi's burning palm strike blew a hole in the wall, but the construct did its job in stopping her tracks. Her Tenseigan immediately saw Hagane, his body glowing with a white aura, leaping at her from behind, ready to deliver a flying kick. Hanabi jumped into the air just in time to avoid Hagane's incoming kick, which shattered the wall Kaida had created. Staying mid-air, she clenched her fists, causing the fire surrounding her hands to grow bigger. "Now take this," Hanabi said, as she began to thrust her hands downwards in a rapid way. Fire release, 8 trigrams Phoenix Fire. Which each arm thrust, Hanabi released a small projectile of concentrated fire that produced a huge explosion when crashed against the ground. Despite the jutsu's widespread destruction, the twins didn't falter. "Brother, I need some senjutsu juice," Kaida called. "On it," Hagane replied, as he jumped to her side, before bumping fists with her. Hagane's white aura spread to Kaida. From above, Hanabi could see how some of Hagane's nature energy was being passed to his twin sister, and the two of them started to make hand seals. Water release, wild water wave. Wind release, cyclone vortex. Kaida's cheeks puffed, before releasing a massive stream upwards, while a tornado came from Hagane's hands. Hinata was a bit surprised to see one of Naruto's most used wine jutsu being used by somebody else, but she quickly came to the conclusion that it was her boyfriend himself who taught it to him. The two attacks merged into a massive, spiraling water vortex, that engulfed and contained the explosions of Hanabi's jutsu, as it continued upwards, threatening to swallow the younger Hyuga. Seeing no other options, Hanabi descended in order to avoid the twins' combined jutsu, which flew above her head, spraying everything below it. Wood release, deep forest emergence. Hanabi had been so preoccupied with avoiding the combined elemental blast that she hadn't noticed the white-haired girl preparing her next move. Thick wooden vines emerged around her, and launched themselves at the young Hyuga. "Huh, got you. Where's your 6 paths chakra now?" Kaida taunted. A fiery aura surrounded Hanabi as she started to spin. "I don't need 6 paths chakra to avoid such an attack." Fire release, heavenly firestorm. Hanabi turned into an spiraling column of flames that instantly burned all the emerging vines, while releasing several firebolts in every direction. When Hanabi stopped spinning, she was standing on top of a charred crater. And the moment she stopped spinning was the moment the twins chose to attack her in close combat. While it was Hanabi's specialty, she was completely wide open due still spinning. And while in the past the fight would have ended here and there, Hanabi now had one last ace in the hole. Quickly spreading her arms, Hanabi cast a kinetic shockwave that pushed both white-haired Chunin backwards with incredible force, until a tree painfully stopped their momentum. "Ha! Not even the two of you are even close to dash," but Hanabi's boast was interrupted by a couple of hands coming from underground grabbing her ankles, and pulling her down with incredible force, leaving her buried to the waist. "What the hell?" she shouted, as she tried to use her kinetic powers to pull herself out. "That's it," until a kunai touching her neck forced her to stop. "I think victory is ours," Hagane, who was holding the kunai to her neck, stated. Kaida emerged from behind, and high-fived her brother, before the two of them helped Hanabi out of the ground. The match now over, Yamato and Hinata walked towards them. "If there's a lesson to be learned here is that powers matters little if you lack the skill to use it," Yamato stated. "Hanabi, while your Tenseigan gave you a massive boost, and I'm sure one day you'll become of Konoha's most powerful kunoichi, that day is still pretty far." "Well, it was 2 versus 1, Hanabi scoffed, as she crossed her eyes, and turned sideways. "Plus it's not that they're a couple weaklings. Hanabi-chan, the reason you lost was because you lost sight of your opponents." With your Tensigen you should have seen that Kaida had created wood clones to distract you while she went underground, Hinata stated, sounding chastising, but not demeaning. You need to take care of those kind of details now that you're a Chunin. Listen to your sister, Hanabi. Do not let an unique and strong power blind you as to neglect proper fighting skill, Yamato added, before looking at the twins. That goes for you too, you know. Hey, I'm not relying on wood release that much, Kaida protested. Hagane, however, took the criticism in stride. Yamato-sensei isn't lecturing us to make us feel bad. Listening to our teachers is the best way to improve. Sensei's pet, both Hanabi and Kaida seethed. Okay, I don't want any bad blood here. Let's take a rest before resuming the training, understood? Yamato suggested. Alright, the three Chunin said in unison. Hokage Tower, come in, Jiraya said after hearing somebody knocking the door. The door opened, revealing a lizard-masked ANBU. Hokage-sama, here's Kakashi's latest report regarding the Takigakure resistance, the ANBU sodically said as he handed the white-haired Sannin a scroll. Jiraya nodded, took and unfurled the scroll before reading its contents. His lips formed a smile of satisfaction, furling the scroll again once he had read everything on it. Alright, it seems that all the Taki ninjas outside of the village at the time of the invasion had been finally gathered, and they stand ready to retake their home. They're waiting for our reinforcements, Jiraya stated. Which we will be sending immediately. Understood, Hokage-sama, the ANBU said, as he was ready to leave. Before you leave, find my son and his teammates, Jiraya stated. I want them to spearhead the attack. Very well, Hokage-sama, the ANBU replied, making a quick bow before leaving the office. Satisfied, Jiraya stood up, and walked towards the window behind his desk. Alright, Akatsuki, you thought you can do whatever you want with no one able to stop you, Jiraya said to no one, as his gaze drifted to the village before his eyes. We're about to prove you wrong. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button and subscribe for more content. Support the original author by clicking their profile link in the pinned comment of the first video of this series, they deserve the love. Want early access and exclusive content? Join my Patreon community, link below. Your support fuels these videos. Drop a comment with your thoughts, and I'll catch you in the next video. Stay entertained. Stay safe.